Puckett is coming back. Mickey is going to the battle for Texas. Overwatch 2 is apparently on the McDonald's menu. And also, Overwatch 2 is releasing in 27 days or however long the countdown is by the time you watch this episode. Did I get all the news, guys? Oh, wait. Also, Valiant don't have any money, but we already knew that. But now Halo is saying it's even worse. So, holy shit. Welcome to TCP episode 260. Oh!
Yeah.
All right, good night. See ya. That's all the news.
Great way to be an Overwatch League fan again, both ironically and unironically.
What do you mean? I love McDonald's. Hey, we know this.
I mean,
come on, guy. I love McDonald's.
To be fair, like I think they just saw how much you ordered and said, "Oh my god, well, this is an economic opportunity we really can't, you know." We can't disgruntle the caster guy.
If I don't
like
get
he funds our business.
If I don't get an Overwatch Funko Pop in my Happy Meal, I'm not happy.
You want a Funko Pop? What would it be?
I'll be. What's another? I'm just trying to think of another emotion that's not quite happy, but I'm not sad either. What's like a nice neutral emotion?
Apathy?
No. I'll just be
unfazed.
I'll just be whelmed at best. Not even overwhelmed, just whelmed. If I don't get a Funko Pop in my Happy Meal.
So you want a mid Funko Pop? A mid pop?
No, I will have mid feelings if I don't get a Funko Pop in my Happy Meal.
Right.
All right. Yes. Hey, do you guys remember Mickey? He's coming back.
Hell yeah.
And Puckett?
I mean, it's
everyone's coming back.
We love Puckett.
I told you Overwatch 2 would bring everybody back, huh?
It's like Smash Ultimate, right? The gang's all here. We're all
we're adding more characters to Overwatch 2 Smash Ultimate with the new 2022 DLC. The hidden characters Mickey and Puckett getting unlocked in the Smash DLC currently.
Based.
Here for it. I think it's cool.
So depending on how long we want to talk about Valiant, that's either going to be our intro, or we're going to do the intro now and then talk about the Valiant.
Let's do the
We'll let Yiska decide. We'll actually let Yiska decide. Okay, so I see what that means. Episode 260. I read between the lines of Yiska. 260 brought to you by Mr. Bebe, Battlecrab, Refine Beam, Bronze Babuha, Picasso, Chris R, 34444, Cash 67, Lolshin, Pork Chop Sammy, Rick Zane, Volamel Smooth Nuts. With YouTube members, Ice Ham Jello, William Jesse, Vishman, Fire Lemon 6, AK, and Chris R. And I have not slept properly for about 5 days in a row now. So, let's do it. Can't wait. As what happens when you don't regularly drink, but then one weekend you do. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's an interesting...
Did you have to recover voice. 2 weeks, 2 days in a row?
Right now is I'm currently recovering. Today is my recovery, part of the recovery. This entire week actually.
Based.
And then by Friday, when I'm ready to cast, I'll have been fully recovered, and no one will know the difference.
Re-drinking, if I may ask. Drink of choice.
Yeah, what's your drink of choice?
Forever.
See, we already did the intro, so this would have been content for the intro.
Right.
But now we're officially past the intro. Do you see what I mean? So you're kind of breaking the rules. You're kind of breaking the rules a little bit. I'm a man of law. I am a man of law, and
he's not secure. He's not secure in his drink of choice. You see how he put it?
Current drink of choice is going to be water. So, or maybe a coffee would actually be a really good drink of choice for me.
Based.
Okay,
but I should refrain. I like to skip coffee so that the times that I do have it, it's like super strong. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
just go over the tweet. Yiska, where's your tweet? Aren't you supposed to be the leak guy now? You're letting Halo take this stuff?
Believe it or not, I was actually on this one. So...
But you didn't make a tweet.
Yeah, I never feel like I can corroborate this information is a tweet worth having. I'm just going to, let people have their little moment and then
So I'm going to read out the tweet, and then and then I'll let you talk about how you've been on this already and all that kind of stuff as well. There we go. According to multiple sources, LGE, which is Lingan Esports, the organization chosen by the LA Valiant to run their team in China, have missed multiple salary payments to the players and staff. While the Valiant have made the necessary payments to LGE, LGE have not transferred this onto staff/players. There's a little bit more. Halo says, this is something I reported earlier in the year, and the Overwatch League are now aware and involved in proceedings. Pretty sure the Overwatch League have been aware for longer than that. But anyway, the players and staff have had a little to no financial support regarding housing, transportation, or obtaining any visas required. Yiska.
So, okay, this...
Your reaction to that information.
As it always does, right? When something happens in that region. This has actually already been a story for probably like a week in Korea. Like it showed up on Inven and whatnot, right? So we already previously knew that the Korean players couldn't really, you know, go to China and like be in the same team house. We already saw the living conditions that, you know, at least No Hill was under. I do believe they have posted some pictures at least of good food, so I know they're not starving, which is, you know, we kind of have to say that now.
I'm going to insert one little thing before you continue, and we will continue on that, is that the living condition isn't great, but it is also overblown by people reacting to it. I think people, for some reason, believe they're all crammed into one room, which is not true.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to like say they don't live in poor conditions, but like some people legitimately think they're in squalor, which is just not true. So we should just adjust our thinking and understanding of the topic slightly. I'm just shifting the needle a little bit. I'm not saying it's all good and everyone's like in a 5-star hotel room, but like, yeah, they're not on the street and they're not all crammed into one room like it suggests. Okay, so we can stop with that. And also, I also love, by the way, despite all of this, people are still like, yeah, aren't they in some mansion provided by Easy Han's parents? Like, guys, you got to choose one rumor. Choose one rumor to bet. You can't have it both ways. They're either living in squalor or they're in a mansion. Which one is it, guys? Come on, choose.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So, from what I could find out, I think all that Halo is saying is accurate. Once again, like if I had anything super substantial or had enough corroboration, I would have probably published this earlier. I'm pretty confident that the league has known about this now, and I mean it's still a massively problematic situation, right? Because okay, so the way Halo makes it sound, and this is also what I heard, is that it's actually not Immortals that are to blame in this situation, right? So for those that don't know, Immortals Gaming Club is the owner of the franchise, the Los Angeles Valiant, and they have multiple esports teams, even though, you know, I'm not sure if financial struggles were ever like substantiated for them, but they definitely changed their spending habits across franchises. Like, for instance, someone like Packing 10 had a fairly similar role for them in Valorant, where they were basically like trying to moneyball their way into relevance. And as far as I'm aware, I don't think they are to blame other than a bad choice of partner. As the payments allegedly have gone out. Now, the thing is, that choice of partner matters, right? So the question is, how do you apply pressure? Because from my understanding, this isn't a new thing, right? This is a thing that has persisted for a long time and nothing has happened. So this being at the Overwatch League, I think Halo even reported something like this before. So the Overwatch League only finding now out about it now seems less believable, right? That's
I don't buy that.
They must have known for a while.
That's the one part I'm like, no. It's not. I don't think the Overwatch League only knows about it now. That's not true.
I think what probably happens is whenever something like this comes to the public, it's someone in the system just having had enough and contacting, since it sprung into existence for as far as we know in Korea. You know, there's multiple people that could have just, you know, sometimes it's actually like someone just going like, Mom, I can't send you money this month. Why? Well, I haven't been paid. And then it goes out that way or whatever, right? So be that as it may, the situation, from what I heard, is probably even more dire than Halo makes it seem here, which I think is totally fair for Halo to frame it this way. We all know this now needs to change. And I think the way you do that is probably in applying both pressure, public pressure to LGE and to Immortals Gaming Club, right? So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But honestly, like, there are just certain thresholds that you shouldn't allow even in your tier 2 esports to exist. And this is certainly one of them. Like, not paying players for several months on several occasions is not something that should be persist in an esports league, much less in a franchise league.
Yep. Agreed. I think that's kind of part of the nuance that I think is being missed, is that there is like a weird flip-flop of like who really is to blame. I think there are a lot of people that do share some fault. I don't think it's just like, oh, well, it's just LGE. It's like, well, yeah, like they probably they had like shoulder the most fault, I think, in the matter. But I really don't know how much you can pressure them, I suppose. I do look at Immortals at the end of the day and go, you know, what or why has this persisted and you have not like enacted or have not heard about it or have not, you know, set up a point of contact for players to reach you. Like, it's completely hands clean. Like, oh yeah, we didn't know. Like, I don't buy that. So I think there are a lot of people to blame.
I could probably say that, you know, Immortals maybe being, I don't know what they can do, but like, well, we can talk about that as well. But it's like they pay the org the money, and the org, being LGE, is supposed to give that to the players. Outside of Immortals just saying like, oh, we'll just pay the players ourselves, or I guess they can ditch the org, but I don't know what their contractual situation is like, because maybe LGE is signed on to do a certain amount of time with the team. Who really knows? But there's a contract somewhere that's being broken by LGE here by not passing on payments. I will say that Immortals are probably more along the lines of innocence if we look at it from a sliding scale, probably more towards the innocent side. Obviously, LGE look really guilty here. As far as like finding the org and choosing the org, it's like on the outset, I don't think there would have been any. Well, I don't know this for sure, but I'll make some wide sweeping assumptions here. Why not? I don't think it would have been like huge red flags with LGE, given that they had been in the Overwatch space before. They're pretty well known. They actually used to be the academy team of the Hunters, for what it's worth. Now, I don't know everything about LGE. I don't know how their operations are run or anything like that. But as far as looking for orgs in China to run your team for the Overwatch League, I don't think this would have been. I don't think this is a crazy, you know, idea to go towards a team like this. So that part to me sounds fine, unless there's something I don't know. There might be a lot of things I don't know about this, but like no one really knows, because it's nothing unless it comes to light. No one really knows. So really, the question is now is like, how do you put pressure on LGE to pay their players, because the money has been sent by Immortals. So what the hell have LGE done with that? This really sounds like some classic. I was gonna say like 2015. But honestly, I think even now, I mean, clearly now, but like, you know, even some orgs now are doing the run with the money. It's like the team will win a tournament. The team will the org will receive the winnings, and then the org just disappears,
Yep.
right? And the team's like, "Hello, where's our money?" And the org's just gone. Like, I feel like it's one of those stories again. And you see those stories happening in other esports all the time, and by all the time, I mean like not actually all the time, but a bit more than it should. So I guess I'm using all the time as more of a figure of speech here, but it's happening more than it should. And now, unless LGE also just get up and run, this situation seems a lot more salvageable than what I just painted. So, unless LGE just disappear and you can't even find them anymore, and whoever's owning the thing is just now a fugitive. Wasn't there a team from Valorant recently that was like that? Like some team owner just like, Brain Esports, wasn't it? No, the dude just took off. He's just gone now.
No shit.
So it's not that. We're not at that stage yet. The dude from LGE has not taken a runner. He's not just gone. That we know of, unless Yiska can say otherwise. But the step that needs to be taken now is like, how do you pressure LGE to pay their players? Because this is a Chinese company. The good news is a contract has been breached, which means LGE have to be legally liable. So now it's about being able to put your foot down on the neck of that liability in some way.
Yeah. I mean, it's also so... I don't understand. You get a lump sum, right? Your first responsibility in order to minimize damage to you and your brand is to pay players. It might be your biggest expense, but paying players is the way, like, that's your product in esports, right? So you pay those guys. Arguably, you could skimp on the coaches for a moment, right? But like that payments don't reach players is insanity, right? Like that's the one where you're most likely to take a PR hit. Of course, arguably, like, that might hurt you less in the short term, especially, players are very often willing to make or to stay hum for longer than they probably should. And once again, this has been an issue for a long time. So I guess that gamble, paid off for a little bit. But yeah, there needs to be some way to resolve this, because honestly, like, at this point, how often has Valiant been in map 5s? Like,
a lot.
Tons.
A lot.
Tons and tons of. If you're not being paid and you have to wonder, like, about your livelihood, if you're ever going to see the fruits of your labor, that's probably going to impact your ability to win games, no? Like, if every time, like, you get into a match, you gotta wonder, like, am I going to ever see the fruits of my labor here? Or, like, am I just going to get boned? So... do we have the technology? Let me see. I'm about to bring it up. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. But they won that one. 4, 5. 5 map 5 losses. Is that correct?
Hey, you're counting.
Sounds
Yeah,
right.
I'm not. I'm currently not counting. So you tell me.
I think it's 5 map 5 losses. Which, I mean, come on, right? Like, how many wins do they currently have? 4, let's say, even half of those. They probably make a tournament. This season looks different, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like, also, make no mistake, whatever you think is the lowest paid franchise in the Overwatch League, the Valiant are below that.
7, by the way. 7 I counted this year.
7 map 5 losses?
This year.
Holy.
Oh, losses?
Yeah.
I just map 5s.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So losses 5 then, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. This impacts competitive integrity. This impacts decency. This impacts the livelihood of players that are more deserving. And this also impacts the reputation of the league if this can't be resolved. I'm sorry. Like, this is not a thing that can fly in your franchise league. And once again, if I'm an owner in this league and someone's wearing his clown shoes for 8 months now, like, you got to shape up. Like, I'm pissed now. So, yeah, this is an unacceptable situation.
This just exists in one of those like weird zones where it's like for Blizzard, it'd be so much easier if they were dealing with entities in North America or even just entities outside of China. I just don't know how you go after them. Also, I just want to correct myself for an earlier thing. The Brand Esports thing was the owner apparently is being hunted down for a drug deal. So that's what that was about. That wasn't the guy running away with money. Well, he is running away with money, but he's running away with drug money, not his players' salaries. Or maybe his players, I don't know. But the point is, it's that wasn't exactly related, but whatever, I brought it up, so I'll correct that. Yeah, so it's like, is there a way Blizzard could go through Blizzard China to put the pressure onto LGE? But like, because here's the thing: is you can get rid of LGE. Right? That's not out. That's probably an easy thing to do. But the harder thing to do is like, how do you pay your players? Because Valiant should not have to pay their players twice, given that they've already paid LGE and that should have gone to players and it didn't. Part of me thinks punishing Immortals here is not the right way to go. Because it seems like, you have to really put the weight on the word seems, it's a load-bearing seam here, that it seems like Immortals didn't do anything wrong. And you could argue it was like, well, they chose the org, where it's like, well, I mean, yeah.
I think like if they
what can you do about that? Like,
if they are at all, like, I think there's practically no way for them to just bow out unless like this league was to falter entirely. So the only way to really resolve this is to either find a good business partner in China. I think at this point the more likely scenario is that the Valiant are coming back next year, meaning like they're going to full budget LA. in LA. Yeah. And I mean, it's very likely going to be budget once again. We're likely to see more budget teams as well. Maybe there are some solutions. I mean, there's a ton of teams in LA now. Maybe there's something that can be done there. I'm not sure. But this is not a solution that is really feasible. Hopefully we can travel next year and we don't need even like different regions. And if we do, like maybe we have some other solution. But my God, it's like nothing good has come from the Valiant being in the APAC region other than some regional increased parity
some good memes
nobody cares about, right? Like, it's just like basically you hung up a punching bag for 2 seasons or 3 seasons. And this season is probably the one where that framing is the least justified, but you catch my drift. Like, it's just like such a placeholder team has been, and then like finally some folks come around that have the ability to do something. And I mean, 513 is not world beating. It's not like London, but it's like, especially given the map 5s. There was something there, and they just couldn't convert it. And of course, like, there's a lot of buts, ifs, and whens. But I mean, this
actually,
this just
know what needs to happen. What? I have a solution. This is not a pretty solution. This is pretty crude, and unfortunately, it'll probably. No, I don't even know if I want to say it. Unfortunately, it'll probably make the league even worse and just like cause more issues and just overall be a bigger shitstorm. But like, if I'm one of the players, I stop playing.
Yeah.
No conversation, no play.
We're due for one of those.
That's the next step.
Overdue.
You gotta strike.
Like because I was gonna say like credit to the players for powering through this, but also them I'm like, no, not credit to the power, not credit to the players for powering through this. They shouldn't have to power through that.
Yeah, they also shouldn't have to pay for their desired players,
so I would
salaries and everything that.
Yes.
But I gotta say, I feel bad for the players because here's the other problem is like they should strike and they should just refuse to play But if they do that, they also shoot themselves in the foot for their career.
Yeah.
Because they're already on a team that kind of struggles, right? If they want to have a future in the Overwatch League and they want to quit now, what team picks them up again? Maybe some of them survive. Maybe some of them get on a team next year. But like, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot for future progression by not playing either. So you are between a rock and a hard place. You shouldn't play because you're not getting any money. But then if you don't play, then your career's kind of fucked. So what do? Do you just power through? I mean, certain people could afford to just strike it and just not do anything, but then you have to come to terms that if you strike and you choose not to play, and this shit does not get resolved either in a timely manner or at all, your season ends now. It's over. You just don't play anymore. Because not because you're necessarily choosing to not play, but because the team is just under so much shit. They can't operate, and every single match is now just forfeited, and the Valiant just don't exist in Overwatch League for the rest of the year or whatever it is. Right? It is still a pretty complex situation. The right thing to do is to not play, but at the same time, I feel so bad for the players. No matter what they do, no matter which way they do, they're either playing for free or they're not playing and fucking themselves. But either way, I think they're getting fucked. Right? No matter which way.
Yeah, and I mean this team has been one of the more disgusting actors of, like, if you wanted to limit test the rules of the Overwatch League and what's possible in order to squeeze the most out of the rules, so you have to pay the least, look no further than Los Angeles Valiant. From signing players as late as possible to having people on rolling 30 days, how that is a legal policy is still absolutely fucking insane to me. Like, I think, I'm not sure if that has ever happened, but once again, I think rolling 30 days is just the first step, because once again, what stops you from just saying, well, I'm actually not going to put you on a rolling 30 day because, like, your hero, like, let's say you're our main tank player. We're currently playing Junker Queen exclusively, so our off-tank player is playing, or our DPS player. You know what? Like someone like Sasin, let's say. Why would I pay Sasin for this stage? If I'm a scumbag that doesn't want to spend money, then I'm just not signing him to a 30-day and tell him, well, boy, you better be shaped up for the eventual main tank meta or whatever I want you to play. Which is, by the way, a pretty limited hero pool, so you're not even attractive to any other teams that you could be practicing. So you're now basically only someone that still practices and still hones his skill in order to be attractive for my team and my team only, so I can then sign you for another 30-day contract as long as I need you. Like, this is... I'm sorry. This is not unreal that this is a policy in the Overwatch League. Just for
let's actually specify, and just for the people that don't even know what rolling 30 days means, which might be a few people. Rolling 30-day contracts, well, you all know what 30-day contracts are, which is the sort of emergency signing. We will sign you. This is not an official salaried contract in terms of you joining the team long term in a normal contract, which is normally a year. This is you are emergency signed for 30 days, and then at the 30 days, you are no longer on our team unless another 30 days is applied or you are signed to the team for an entire year from that date. Rolling 30-day is when a player is just repeatedly signed on 30 days, just infinitely, just forever. Like, or in some cases, not forever, and they just get dropped. So rolling 30 days is potentially a player where, let's say a player plays out an entire season. How long's a season? 6 months. Just say 6 months. If you rolling 30-day a player for 6 months in a row, they have technically played the entire season, but they've only been paid for half the season. Because here's what people don't understand is, when you join the Overwatch League as a player, you don't just get dropped 50K. Let's just use, I know it's higher than 50 now, but let's just say you don't just get dropped 50K in your bank account and then, like, good luck to play your season now, obviously. What you get is you get paid your entire year's salary over 12 months, like an employee. So if you are making 50K, you get 50K over 12 months. The way the 30-day contracts are formulated is that the 30 days of money you get is 1/12 of that $50,000 salary, or however much you're being paid in your 30 days. But it's 1/12 of a player's salary, right? Because you're being paid 30 days, aka 1 month. So a player on a rolling 30-day contract who plays the entire season but is on a rolling 30-day the entire time gets 6 months out of 12 months of pay. They're getting paid half of $50,000.
Yeah.
If it's $50,000, as in the example.
And there's
essentially you're in a 25K contract if you're on a rolling day, which is half of 50K. Like that's fucking bad. And then you have what Yiska's saying. It's worse than that, because I just said 6 months, didn't I? But it's worse than that, because what about the breaks? What happens when you don't make a tournament and there's a month between play? Oh, well, you just don't get paid that month. Your rolling 30 days gets like shelved for 1 month, and then when the league starts again, your rolling 30 day starts again.
Yeah.
So
and you might even
really,
be
it's
asked
like,
to scrim during that time, theoretically. You know.
Yes. So I just said 6 months, but really it's probably less than 6 months. Maybe like 4 months, 3 months, however long the actual literal playing time is, because the breaks, a team could just like, no, we're not going to pay you this month, because they don't have to.
There's one important qualification which really clamps down on how many players can be affected by this. You can only sign people to 30-day contracts or rolling 30 days if you have 6 active full season contracts for your team. Okay? So that's mandatory. Every team by some date in March, I think, this year, needed to have 6 full season long contracts. If you release a player or trade a player off, then someone else needs to pick up this full season contract. So only your 7th player can be on rolling 30 days, right? Now, if there are other ways to circumvent that, because it's not like, from my understanding, players like Sasin and EasyHan are on the rolling 30 days. It isn't the hackers or whatever you thought. I mean, I'm not even sure if a hacker is still
hacker's not even part of it at all. He's not even getting paid. So
I'm not sure if he still has an Overwatch League contract, but like, you get the idea. Like, there are players that effectively you would think are those signed to season-long contracts, and they aren't, right? Even though they technically look to be starters, like Sasin, because he was like the only tank signed. You know, like, that's... I'm not sure what the rationale there is, but like, all of this is so convoluted. It shouldn't be this convoluted.
So we know Hacker is not part of that. Here's the thing: Marvel is not a signed player. I'm pretty sure he's the 30-day. That was basically confirmed, actually, by some of the players joking about him on stream, and joking in the sense it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna get in the Wizard deal, we're going to get a Big Daddy main tank for 30 days, he said on stream, in a very innocent manner, which is you know, I accept that. But so it's not Sashin, it's not Marvel. How many players that left? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. So out of those 7 players, 6 have to be fully contracted. Only 1 other player can be 30 days. And then we're saying it's either EasyHan or Sashin after that. It can't be both, otherwise the Valiant are doing something really fucking crazy. You know?
Yeah.
Because if it's both, then somebody on the staff is actually on... That means somebody on the staff is actually on the player contract.
Which would be unprecedented, you know, but like, I think that might not be the case here.
And just by the way, in case people think it's just No Hill, it's like, oh, is No Hill the guy on... is No Hill on a player contract? There's 3 players on staff. There's 3 members on staff. There's Cole, the general manager, No Hill, the head coach, and Haru, the assistant coach. So... The Valiant saga continues, and boy, does the rabbit hole get deeper. And yeah, I mean, you made a budget tier list, Yiska, that only had the NA teams, and you had the tiers from S to E. Brother, you're gonna need to add like 2 or 3 more tiers below E just for the Valiant. you gotta add a few tiers below that, starting from F.
Dude,
F in the chat for the Valiant.
Like, you know how we used to slack the Boston Uprising for, like, you know, going full budget and whatnot? Dude, like, no, actually, like, seen from today, everything they did was kind of above bar. Yeah, they had very low contracts. They also like looked at players that were not in high demand, so they could. And also, this is one of the fair organizations that will actually pay you the full salary.
Yeah,
because they're professional.
Yep.
professional.
Because like the patrons are like, what do you mean? Like, no, of course we're gonna do it differently, right? Like, but yeah, I mean, this is. We got to find some standard. I understand that the leverage as the league is probably limited at this point. Then I ask that all of the owners also come together and apply some leverage, and also like knowing like how sometimes the esports business works, owners can make it very difficult for other owners to find sponsorships in this industry. Right. So as an esports organization, you probably don't want to be on the bad side, and by word of mouth be seen as a bad, carrier of sponsorship.
But do LGE care? I don't. Do
No.
they even care?
No, I'm not sure if LGE would care, but IMT should care, and they should do something drastic.
I don't know that IMT. First of all, I don't know that IMT cares. Second of all, I don't know that going after IMT is the correct move to make, because I'm not going to say they're completely innocent, but they on my sliding scale of innocence, they certainly slide towards the innocent side than the guilty side in this situation.
I mean,
agreed. Because they're also getting fucked over. Valiant, Immortals are also getting fucked over because financially they're paying money for these expenses, the player salaries, and it's not happening. The money isn't going where it's supposed to go. So financially,
then action needs
Immortals
to be
are kind of
taken.
getting fucked. So, kind of fucking the Immortals harder for this, for something that, in my opinion, based on the information that's available, doesn't seem like their fault. Seems like an unfair move to make because the Immortals didn't do anything wrong here, from what we can gather. So the pressure needs to be put on LGE. I don't know I don't know what can be done except for what I said earlier, which is there's a binding contract signed somewhere, and this needs to go to, I don't know, a Chinese court. Fuck, they're even just saying that, just like I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that means. Like, it has to. Is there a Chinese court of law that LGE can be put against to legally pressure them? Because otherwise, I don't see what else you can do. You can cut ties with LGE, but that doesn't solve
that
doesn't solve the money that they stole. So like,
I think we all agree that like action needs to be taken, and that's where I think the onus does come, not immediately, but the onus eventually does have to come back to the manager, right, of the operation. Yes, LGE is operating the team, but Valiant still owns it. So if no action is taken, which again, the story is just coming out, so we don't know if no action is being taken or if the league is applying pressure, so action does happen. But I think that's what we're all kind of saying when it comes to Valiant, is that they have to do something. The league and them have to cooperate.
I think that's the base.
Something has to be remedied.
That's the base position where I think we all start at.
Yeah.
The question is, what can you do?
That's where
I don't know that there's that much that you can do. I don't know there's a lot that you can do.
I don't know. Stuff.
I don't understand law at the best of times. I fucking do not have a clue about Chinese law beyond that.
For sure.
That's a whole separate realm of law that I couldn't even begin to get into. Like I don't know. Like, honestly, right now, if you're LGE, depending on how much you care about sticking around, if Blizzard or whoever starts coming after you, depending on how easy or hard it is to kind of get them through Chinese law, LGE could just dip and run, and you'll never fucking see them again, and all your money goes with them. They can literally just get up and go, and then what?
Possible, yeah.
Well, that's happened with Chinese orgs in the past, not necessarily in Overwatch, but like across esports. This is not an uncommon story. So it's like, what can you really do? Like, unless you have a way to chase after them legally in China, then kind of just kiss that money goodbye.
Yeah. It's not good either, but yeah,
well,
it's it's a law thing, and I don't think any of us are lawyers, so it's like we all agree shit has to change. It's not good that the players are not being paid in a timely
But you
fashion.
are journalists, which is close to being a lawyer.
I suppose, yeah. In a roundabout way, I suppose it's kind of true.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to see the league make some changes.
I have the answer,
year,
guys. Guys, I have the answer. I have the solution. There you go. You ready? Just
Uh-huh.
cancel them. Just cancel LG. That'll do it.
Yeah. I think the
I heard that works.
I think the league in general made it what was it? Like 2019, 2020? Like the league made some changes to the contractual structure. At least I'm assuming it was the league. To enable like more power to the organizations. I think there has to be another like shift coming in 2023 with like how you treat 30 days, how you treat I think there's more rules to be added in this realm.
There's got to be more player protection.
Yeah, there has to be.
Because we've shifted too far. We used to be like super player protective, and that kind of screwed the orgs.
Yes.
And now we're like super org protective, which is screwing the players. So we gotta shift back in the middle somewhere.
Because if we don't, then what you're saying regarding like player strikes is bound. Like we are due for one. We are due for a player to like have enough of it.
The problem is, Joe,
actually stop.
The problem is, Joe, either every player would have to do that. Every single player would have to strike between multiple different cultures, languages, and countries and whatnot. Or like the players that do strike and the other ones. So if only a certain proportion of players strike and the others don't, the players that do strike just get fucked. Especially if they're small. The smaller that group, the more they get fucked.
For sure.
Let's say it's just one team. Cool, one team strikes, all those players get fucked, and the league continues without them. Do you know what I mean? Like, then nothing really changes. And then just like 6 or 7 whatever players screw themselves out of playing the league, and they're gone. And the players that are willing to do that and willing to sacrifice their career, power to them. There's a number of players that can't afford to do that, and I don't blame them, because there's a level of insecurity and fear that does exist for good reason, because players don't want to lose their livelihoods. And you could say like, well, they're not getting their full livelihood anyway, but that's at least bigger than zero.
I think what leads me in the opposite direction is that even the players with a lower incentive structure, namely contenders players, have already like actually done this.
That's because they got nothing to lose anyway. If you're in contenders,
exactly. So if this league doesn't shape up and things only get worse for the players, what I'm saying is that this mindset shifts where it's like enough's enough. You have to make a move. And if we're continuing this direction, which I don't believe that we are, then we get into a circumstance where players do outweigh the consequences and the risks of like staying within the league to like actually enacting change.
Now this is where a player union would actually be useful, because a player union could organize a strike at this level. I'm not saying players shouldn't strike, but I'm saying unless it's like extremely well coordinated and literally everyone does it, you just have a situation where like the people that do get screwed and the people that don't just continue playing and getting screwed anyway. So you can get screwed both ways is maybe a reality, but a player union would help that. Now, before everyone just jumps on, I was like, yeah, where's the players union? There should be a players union. And I saw that comment, by the way, in I think the Halo thread is like, another reason why we need a players union. I'm like, I don't disagree, but also at the same time, that's up to the players. Well, that's up to like, a representative of the players that has nothing to do with the league or Blizzard to take charge in that. And the few times that has maybe happened, where somebody like Seagull steps up and tries to get it going, it did not get going. Not enough players were interested. No. Not enough players backed it. And it's possibly an issue with the fact that the league is just too international. You have just too many different bodies of different demographic groups of players, and it's too hard to coordinate it all together. Maybe the demographic groups also have different interests, and maybe from a legal standpoint as well, it's like, how does an American-based players union support a Korean player? Like, it's a hard thing to do, right? So I mean, there's a lot of hurdles involved. So I can see why it's not as easy as the LCS and League of Legends to formulate one. Well, that's all American players, or at least like If they're not
True.
if they're foreign players, they're like on American visas, and they're all existing in one regional league, right? That's very different.
Yeah.
Here, you would almost need 3 separate players unions for each demographic of Chinese, Korean, and American, or European.
There's such an infinitesimal amount of hurdles that you had to overcome. Just scratch that one from your toolbox in order to fix this player situation. It's not going to happen. We had way better moments for it to happen, and it didn't happen then.
People talk about player unions as like a light switch you can turn on. Every time I hear somebody talk about it, it's like, why don't they just do a players union? It's like, brother, it is not a light switch.
You'd hope it was. You'd wish it was, but it really isn't as simple. It's just like, well, organize. It's like, okay, why don't you organize it for him?
Yeah, please.
You know what I mean? It's like,
and the best
you're
one,
just poking the dead body and like hoping it does something.
The people actually have no idea what a union is. They're like, oh, why doesn't Blizzard just make a players union? It's like, brother, that's a funny one.
That
that's
sentence.
Hilarious.
That sentence structure, even of itself, yes, please, employer, make me a union. You understand what that's like?
They don't understand. That's why they said they don't understand. That's why they said it. That's like,
I know, yeah.
Hey, entity that is likely to oppress me. Why don't you make the rules for me?
Please defend me. What incentive structure does the employer have to like? Bruh, yeah, it's
so yeah.
Valiant need to get their shit together. Plain and simple. Start paying these boys. Start paying the players.
No, Valiant have been paying them. It's LGE that are not paying them.
Whoever, find the money, get it to the players. I don't care who's involved.
Alrighty. Yiska?
We did.
Anything else? So we good?
Didn't we? Yeah, no, we good.
Alrighty. Also, at this point, if players did want to strike, I mean, it would cause a shitstorm. But at this point, I think this situation is already getting quite public. The league is already, well, as Yiska and I have alluded to, I think the league have been looking into it for more than just right now. But Halo is saying the league is looking into it now. So whichever way you want to slice it, things are happening. Like, the question will always just be like, well, what things can happen and how quickly can they happen?
Yeah.
And big eyeballs, at least from me now, looking to Countdown Cup, because Summer Showdown's over. All the players that did not make the LAN or did not make the tournament are taking a break. How does Valiant move forward now in Countdown Cup? Do the players still play? Are they getting paid? Are they not getting paid? What's the issue? What's the deal? We will find out when Countdown Cup comes back. Speaking of Countdown Cup, or actually, let's not speak about Countdown Cup. Speaking of Summer Showdown, let's talk about the actual tournament coming up. And we can do that by also examining some of the games and some of the storylines, some of the teams coming through. Let's just go over which teams have made it. Here are the seedings from North America, 1 to 8. From number 1, Fuel, then going down 2 to 8, we have Shock, Outlaws, Defiant, Spitfire, Titans, Justice, Mayhem. And then in Summer Showdown tournament for APAC, we have Dragons, Dynasty, Charge, Fusion in that order. So Glad's, Reign, Boston, Excel, Eternal, Hunters, Valiant, Spark have all missed out. First of all, I'm going to just say this real quickly because it's a funny meme. I did imply a little bit earlier on that there is a world, then there is a timeline where the 3 locations of the Washington offload, being Glad's, Atlanta, Reign, and Boston, all do not make it, while Washington do make it. So what a funny outcome that we have now. What a wild, crazy outcome we have that, Washington Justice, whichever way you want to view this meme, either from the position of dead weight being dropped, like, oh, finally Washington, they've taken off the shackles, the dead weight is gone, they can finally play the game. And now those 3 players are weighing down the other 3 teams who didn't make it, or it's the supreme sleeper agents being inserted into the other teams, taking them down from within.
Ooh, you just rolled the right meta.
In either case, Washington makes it, Glad's, Atlanta, Uprising don't make it.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
Strength of schedule, right meta rolled, death rattle, last breath, or like, what's it called in WoW again? Last stand? or cheat death, whatever mechanism is at play here. Like, I mean, nobody looks at Vigilante, Happy, and who am I missing? Mag, and says like they were the problem on the teams that they didn't qualify for, or those were the problem children on the Justice, right?
But it's funny to imagine it that way for the purposes of the meme.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I mean, good for the team for sure. I don't know if they will necessarily have much of a chance here. But I mean, for some of them, I expect this to be probably more like a last hurrah situation. Even though I think the Justice are pretty much a lock-in. Opener, Kalios. I don't think that those are players. They're less likely than not to find team, or they. I struggle to make sentences right now. What I mean is, I think it's unlikely players like this will find a new team in the new season. And as it stands, and like for them, that's either they take this to be like, okay, one last round, or let's really play and, you know, make a strong effort to show our best in order to be attractive in the postseason. But I mean, yeah, they will probably also still make play-ins, of course, as the current standings are. If not directly playoffs, actually, still possible, I suppose.
I'll just add, there is one common denominator between those three teams that missed out that I just noticed, and that is the Toronto Defiant. The Toronto Defiant have an all-kill versus those three teams. They beat all three of those teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is amazing. But yeah,
you know, if the Justice,
but a friendly fire because I think I think Boston played Atlanta played Gladiators. You know, they also had to defeat each other a little bit there. But yeah,
I think to your point, Yiska, that like it is a death rattle for some players where it's like it is very unlikely that either they stay motivated or they are like their interest in Overwatch after the season like continues. But I would I see a world where maybe Kalios does find another team.
No.
I think there are some intangibles about him that, you know,
he was offered
could
to
be sought out
all
after.
teams at zero buyout. Nobody bid.
who Kalios?
I think that's a different situation when in comparison to like an actual off-season rebuild for a team, right? Like if I'm a team right now and I already have a tank that I quite like and have plans for, or, you know, I don't have any pressure to actually change, or it's probably detrimental to change. I think just like randomly signing another player to just like slot into your team isn't the best way to go about things. So I do think the situation shifts when we get into the actual like postseason. People do have a little bit more information, maybe you know, testing when it comes to like long form Overwatch 2 tournaments, right? We're still kind of, we're 3/4 of the way done with the year, sure, but there's still quite a bit of Overwatch to be played. What else can be discovered? What else can be kind of like formulated as like a coefficient, not a coefficient, but like a marker of like success, like we did last year with veterans and flexibility and all of these things that we can point to say, yes, like these are the markings of like a successful or good player. I think maybe that changes given enough time.
On the storyline of the Death Rattle, I think Washington's journey is going to be pretty brief here. Not to get into predictions too early, but
yeah,
as we'll see in the bracket, I don't expect Washington to make it very far in the tournament. Nor do I think they have too much left to go for the rest of the year and count their couple play-ins or whatever.
Yeah.
Given that they are going to have a reasonable amount of league points out of this, they get 4 league points minimum out of this entire stage, given 3 wins and also tournament qualification. That should put them into a reasonable standing to make it to the play-ins. If they whether they make it through or not, it's an entirely different question because you know, still a bit of a sad state of a team. Maybe they get lucky in the meta. Who knows? You know, a number of things can happen. They are probably one of our lower rated teams. Another team that kind of squeaked by is the Florida Mayhem, right? And they have a very interesting situation ahead of them. We can talk about this right now, because we're kind of on the subject of teams, how they did in the qualifying, and how we think they might do, without necessarily giving a prediction. But Majed can't make it to LAN. Now, I believe the league / Florida are looking at options for Majed to maybe play from home or play from the Mayhem facility, but he does not have a visa to go into Canada.
Right. Yep. It's unfortunate. It kind of sucks. Hopefully the league can find a solution. Yeah, it would be a different story if maybe Florida. I'm trying to think of the timeline of when Majed was actually signed, because I think, was this post-season start that he was signed, or like right before? I feel like it was very early on.
He was signed
like,
before the season.
Before the
but he didn't get his visa until late. He still managed to play
right.
the season.
So that's where it's like, I don't know enough about like visa acquisition processes and like how easy it is to like fast track 2 different ones, and if that was even like something that Florida could feasibly do. I don't know. It's an unfortunate thing that like it sucks, and hopefully the league can accommodate in special circumstances. Say that.
It sounds like
don't need teams skating out.
Sounds like they probably didn't start Majed's visa process for Canada until late.
Yeah.
Because honestly, Florida didn't know if they were going to even make it in.
Yeah, exactly.
And you could say, I think you can argue, it's like, well, why don't they just do it early? Why don't they just do it just in case? And the answer to that would be probably cost money.
Yeah.
Right? So unfortunately, when you're one of the teams that is cost saving, this is not insignificant. I'm guessing, I'm speculating, maybe, after this I say this and Albert comes out and be like, that's entirely incorrect. I'm like, all right, fair enough. I was wrong. I don't actually know. I'm just guessing. But it does seem like it's late. It does seem like it's a late application because it took a long time for Majed to get the US. They started his process as soon as they signed him, as far as I can tell. And they signed him in the preseason with plenty of room to work with. So it's not like they dilly-dallied there. It just took a long time to get Majed over. It's the Saudi nationality that does put a little bit of red tape over entry into some of these countries as far as legal working visas goes. We're not talking about a tourist visa here. So I don't know, but how does this, aside from the visa status position, how does this affect the team? Because this is a team that goes 3-3.
Yep.
They lose to, predictably, the powerhouses of Dallas and Shock. They beat Paris. They beat New York. By the way, their final week was insane. 3-0 Paris, 3-0 New York. That was one of the pathways, by the way, for Gladiators to make it. Was, I believe, Florida, Paris, and New York all had to win one each. But if one team just wins both, like Florida did, then it's just, okay, well, that's just no shot. And Florida's just like, nope, fuck Gladiators. We're just going to win both. 3-0s, baby. And who else did they beat? They beat London in week 1, which is quite impressive considering London's bounce back now. Florida being London in week 1 is pretty nice. But they've been running some unorthodox strategies. They've done the double flex support in this meta.
Yeah.
Beyond that, Majed has been off-rolling into Lucio. I suppose this means that Animo is going to have to play for them on Lucio now, which shouldn't be bad. Like that sounds like it shouldn't be bad, but they haven't done it so far. They haven't been willing to really do that so far, which is weird. I trust them, maybe for good reason.
I would say so. I think it comes down to, it's one of those things that like once we get a ruling, it's really going to shape how like predictions are going to roll out. I think, at least in my mind, I think it's probably,
assume he doesn't play. Assume Majed doesn't play.
Assume he doesn't. I mean, that definitely hampers them. I think we've been pretty explorative, let's say, of main supports within Overwatch 2, and especially their impact within this meta in particular. That said, one of the big markers that I've kind of placed when kind of reviewing some of these games is like actual coordination, and even still, like even actual main supports are still having like some rough patches, as you tend to do. It's not without human error. and that's something that I don't think that Anamo's really ever shocked me with. It has never really been an impressive feat. If anything, going back to like his GOATS performance, it was probably a marker of why I dislike him so much. So I would say it's a step down, but I don't know by how much. I don't think it becomes a liability. I don't think just like having like a lackluster, let's say, main support is going to like tank their performance this tournament. But it certainly doesn't help.
What do you guys think about?
As if he doesn't play.
What do you guys think about Hydron benching XC currently?
Deserved.
In what way?
It never said well with me that like they benched XC on or Hydron on potential when he already was one of the stronger sojourns in the league. I don't know how much higher you could expect XC to play. And it just doesn't feel that great for player psychology. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Buying XC is like instead of Hydron. Yeah, I don't know. I was half expecting Hydron to be sold somewhere. Didn't happen. So
true. Yeah, same.
You guys got all the trade leaks. Speaking of, what was the word you used again? Confidence, morale. Fuck, what did you say?
Psychology.
Speaking of player psychology, let's talk about the LA Gladiators. No, I'm kidding. Let's talk about Vancouver's run. That was impressive.
True. Yeah.
They've gone from winning diddly squat to going 3-3, top 6. Tied equal justice. It's wow. I mean, who did they beat? Let's go over who they beat. They beat Paris. It seems like Paris is a bit. Paris and New York. They 3-0 both Paris and New York. Goddamn, dude. Paris and New York have been a bit of a punching bag, sadly. That being said, New York also did beat Houston.
Yeah,
so given that,
New York seems like they were on the mend for a little bit. I don't know how much. They're a weird one. Sometimes they look good. Sometimes they look
good that we're not going to talk about New York then because they didn't make it. So we're going to skip them for now. So Vancouver beat Paris. They beat New York. They beat Washington 3-2. And they also, that's the 3. Those are the 3 they won. They had a very close game versus Toronto, a 2-3 result, which was, I think you have to kind of tip the hat to that, and then a very close 2-3 versus a strong-looking Boston as well. So potentially room for 2 more wins there if it kind of goes their way at least a little bit more.
Yeah, minor note, I guess, on that Boston game. If memory serves, and I'm quite sad that it is serving me this way. Yeah, this was a reverse sweep, and it was like a genuinely decent match where like this probably could have been a 3-0, and then Boston just kind of flipped the shit. So potentially another team kind of with a sense of consistency behind them. Sad that Baroy doesn't get his old team. That doesn't score a win against his old team. It's just kind of like,
this is the most true neutral result for Baroy, though, because it's like, your old team wins, but your new team goes up 2-0 at match point. So, you know.
Can't be too
And your new team goes to Toronto and your old team doesn't. So it's, a bit of a true neutral result for Baroy.
True.
I think, if there was a way to meet in the middle, this would be it. This is the meet in the middle result for Baroy, respectfully.
Would imagine so. But yeah, definitely keep an eye on Boston and credit to Vancouver and the regime.
But so where does Vancouver go from here? Are they legitimately a legitimate team now? Is this a new standard? Is the new standard for Vancouver a mid team? And by the way, I say mid in the most complimentary way here, because mid for Vancouver is a huge compliment to them.
Right,
so are they just a mid team now? Or is this a one shot for them due to meta or due to timing or due to strength of schedule, which was pretty strong for them?
It's hard to say definitively. I think I'd speak for everybody in saying that like the form looks like it's all there. The coordination seems like it's there, but when you ask somebody like Mirror or, False to actually pilot like a Reinhardt in the next meta, whatever it might be, whatever this gamble tends, rolls out to be, whatever the river is, that's when things really become salient. It'll be a big litmus test on what like the Countdown Cup metagame looks like. But so far so good. I think you can't really discredit them for how they look right now. But the one thing I think we can say about Overwatch is that shit changes, and it changes often. So how meta-proof is this team? Hard to say, because it feels like they've been revitalized with this Junker Queen composition. Once that goes away, if and when, fingers crossed,
after this meta goes away. They promised a nerf her.
Sure. We'll see. That's kind of my feelings on Vancouver is right now it's looking great. Awesome. I'm happy to see them, performing well, happy to not have another poo team. But how much farther can this roster go? I would guess when you look at like the coaching staff and you look at like at least the quality of the players, it's more likely than not that the team is going to be fine moving forward, but are they going to like make it through a deep play-in run? Hard to say. If the meta gamble is a little shaky when it comes to tanks for them, that definitely could be a detriment. There are some negatives, there are some liabilities for this team, but we don't know exactly how that kind of pans out. So hard to say.
So I will also mention as well that just to quell the hype for Vancouver a little bit, because I know it's pretty hype that they're winning, but we have to be reasonable here. We have to be realistic. And I don't want, well, actually, I do want people to be upset next stage. I really do enjoy people being upset, but I don't want people to be too upset here as well at the same time. So I'm going to contradict that statement because they had probably the easiest strength schedule out of the qualified teams. If you look at the teams that did not qualify, there is a very specific line of matchups that they pretty much all faced that really screwed their win record, match win-loss record, and that is they had to play Dallas and or Shock, and if you play both, bad luck. So I think the hardest game for Vancouver was Houston, and they got 0-3'd. Houston actually legitimately looked good outside of the New York lost. So that was a bit of a rough one for Vancouver, and in some ways, you could extrapolate the Houston loss to being like, well, they would have easily have lost to Shock, easily lost to Dallas. They did lose to Toronto, although given that was a pretty close game, so I think you can just at least give them a bit of a silver lining there. And they did lose to Boston as well, but they still made 3-3. I just think what I'm trying to say is, when you don't play, you're not playing Gladiators at their peak or at any version of them. You're not playing Shock, you're not playing Dallas. We can probably temper the hype around Vancouver a little bit. I think they'll maybe do okay this tournament. But I don't think they're as like legitimately scary and legitimately good as like being a solidified mid or up top half team, because they're currently 6th place for just this stage. And I don't know if any one of us could confidently say that they are number 6 in NA, right?
Oh,
like if you were to power rank the NA teams, I don't know that any of us would actually have Vancouver at number 6. I don't even know if I would have them at 7. I would maybe have them at 8, maybe more along the 9. I still think they're probably bottom 5 overall, which some fans would probably consider to be unfair to Vancouver. But again, look at their strength of schedule and tell me they didn't have the easiest strength of schedule, please.
Yeah.
And teams are always bound to get like an easy strength, but like you have to kind of measure it in a vacuum. So
yeah,
like, agreed there. Like you look at their first couple and it's like, damn, like you guys kind of got screwed. But even now, you lose to a Boston that like looked very beatable, and like it was a close game through and through. Once Boston kind of turned their monitors on, it's not a team that's just like definitively top like 7, top 8. It's like you're saying, it is a lot closer than what it seems to be on paper, and a lot of that could be attributed to the strength of schedule. For sure.
All right, let's talk about another different team now. At this rate, we're almost just talking about all the teams individually. Does anyone want to talk about a team individually? Or should we start stacking some of them together to speed through this? Because we've got APAC to go through as well.
I mean, can we can we just talk about Dallas and
Okay.
how, dude, this is right now looks like the best team in the world. No.
Yeah. They were.
Shanghai Dragons might disagree, but
Right.
okay.
Like, okay. I'm still, because I don't like, I have some emotional connection to past Yiska, who said Edison is living in a locker and now he's out of the locker, and I'm not quite ready to say that I've been wrong, and it feels bad, and my confidence might suffer from him saying so. But I have to admit, like, Edison is kind of there, right?
He's out of the locker, but he's just getting a bit of yard time. He still has to go back in the locker for most of the day. You know, you're allowed a little bit of exercise time in the day. You know, before you have to get locked up again. You know, that's fine.
But like,
just Yiska, he's
a locker builder.
He's not in maximum security locker anymore. No, he's just in standard. You know, he's just in a standard cell now.
Yeah.
As far as lockers go, I'm turning this locker discussion from a high school to a prison. We've made some leaps and bounds, but you know, we're getting there.
Yeah, but like, Hanbin builds Alcatraz. Actually, like, Hanbin is a nightmare. Like, he has some Mangekyo Sharingan shit going on with opponents while he just puts them into mental prisons.
You just made up some words. I don't know what you just said.
Yeah, I mean, this is you being uncultured about Naruto, which, you know, some people may call culture.
Yiska, you have to choose right now. Do I make the thumbnail with Mangekyo Sharingan?
The thing is, like, the Valiant situation.
Snap call. Yes or no?
Yes, because the Valiant situation has definitely incurred enough suffering for me to activate my Mangekyo Sharingan. But, like, yeah, I feel like Hanbin is... Man, that fucking second stage really hurt his MVP chances, is what I'm feeling when I'm watching him play right now. Because that dude was slapping in... Like, looked like the best player in the world in stage 1. And then he now looks like the best player in the world once again. And it's like... Come on, dog. Like,
okay. He has been one tricking heroes the entire way through. Let's be realistic as well. He's one tricking Zara, then he's one tricking Junker Queen. To be fair, everybody's one tricking Junker Queen right now. But stands. Also, just to quell people's emotions a little bit. I'm not talking about you guys. You know who I'm talking about. I had Hanbin as my preseason MVP prediction. Yeah. So I would fucking love it if Hanbin won, because I'll look like a genius. I will literally Nostradamus if Hanbin gets MVP. So I'm not against that. I'm just saying at the same time, it's like, is he about to get MVP off 2 heroes? Like,
no, you can't do it anymore because like stage 2 ruined it, unfortunately. But yeah.
It sucks because he probably, like, if we play out the season, if we simulate out the season a number of times, it probably doesn't shape out this way, and he probably is an MVP caliber vote.
Maybe he's just unlucky. He has to share playtime with Fearless a little bit.
For sure.
But then again, like, last stage was you could have played Doom. You could play a lot more Doom. But then again, you probably put Fearless on that because he can swap between Doom and Winston on the same person.
Yeah.
Having Fearless in your team with such a great Winston fucks Hanbin a lot because you don't get to play in a dive meta because Fearless has the better hero pool for that. So.
Really reminds me of the Smurf Super situation, where they took each other's MVP chances, you know?
Mm-hmm. Based. Flitter and leave. Let's fucking go, baby.
Yeah, what can you do? I mean, yeah. No, I'm greatly enjoying Dallas Fuel.
You can pay me money and I'll promote your player on socials.
True.
Wait. Hey, I got a good record for that right now. So, you know, my bank account and my DMs are open.
Yeah. Oh well. Wait, are they really playing Washington Justice first round and then they're playing Washington Justice once again? Like,
I wanted to butt in and be like, well, no, I think Justice has a road, and I look at my predictions again and I'm like, oh, wait.
What do you mean they're playing Washington first round then again?
They're playing them first game in Countdown Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, you build up trauma in Toronto. You come home. You wanna, you wanna stay safe. You can't. Like they're back, back to pound you.
But what do you? Are you talking about Washington?
Yeah. Yep. At least after
what's
that,
the other time? What's the other time they play Dallas? Are you talking about them having already played Dallas?
No, they're playing Dallas in the first round of in Toronto.
It's like drawing the worst opponent you could in the first round. It's like,
okay.
oh well, your turn.
I thought I heard you say. I thought I heard you say them playing them again.
Yeah, again when they come home to Countdown Cup. Yeah, that's also the first game.
Well, yeah, but that'll be a new meta though. That'll be a couple weeks break in a new meta.
Yeah. If the balance patch is strong enough to bring about a new meta.
Look, if it's not strong enough, I'm going to formally request that we enable either gentleman's agreement or a fucking hero pool ban on Junker Queen. I'm serious.
Are you telling me
we will bring back a Junker Queen?
Entire clan?
We will. No, Junkrat's still there. We will hero pool remove Junker Queen just for that one hero. If the ban's not strong enough. In fact, even if the ban is strong enough, even if the nerfs are strong enough, just remove her anyway, just for safety. Fuck it.
Yeah.
For insurance policy, why not? Shock. We gotta talk about the shock. At this point, we're about to talk about every single team. So why don't we just make some quick comments here and then shock. Who thought who was going to win? Was it going to be? Did you guys pred Dallas or Shock? I can't remember.
I think Junkie Queen is so strong at the moment, right?
I think.
So no, I'm talking about the regular season game.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys think that Dallas was going to win or Shock was going to win in week 18?
I thought Dallas was the best team in North America since halfway through. So I would have hoped I would have said Dallas, but I genuinely can't remember.
Well, we didn't do an official preds for it, so no, we can't actually go back and look. I'll be honest. No one expected Edison to have a big game like that. I did not expect Edison to have a big game like that. I would have just imagined that Proper was just going to come in and just do his proper thing. And Proper all over Dallas, He's gonna come in, prop open, and then just prop all over Dallas is what he normally does to everybody. Then again, he's lost to Dallas twice now this year. 2 of Shock's losses this year have been to the Dallas field, so take that with what you will. They have beaten Dallas one time. The record is Dallas 2-1 versus Shock in 2022. But prior to this week, it was 1-1. It's a hard game to call. I still think it was a bit of a coin flip, but Dallas showed up so big off the back of Edison, and also, obviously Heimbin's really good at the moment as well. Yeah, I mean, it's a deserved win. It's a great win. Fantastic win for Dallas. Also, it breaks the streak because as I said before, if Shock beat Dallas here, it would have been, I think, a flawless stage. Flawless stage, but it would have been a flawless season for Shock. They would have had a perfect season. I think they would have gone 24-0. In my opinion. So 20-0 will now be the official scoreline for biggest record ever. I still think Shock are clearly one of the best teams. And Dallas do look like the better team at the moment. That is, I think the asterisk there is, does Edison continue the performance? That's the question that has to be answered. Otherwise, I think Shock are in position to potentially make a bit of a vengeance here, make a bit of a comeback in the tournament.
I mean, I think it certainly helps that Edison does have a big game.
Joe, can you mute your OBS Ninja?
Yes. Sorry. The big marker for me when it came to Dallas was, I think, their proactivity early on. I do think the May look is something that is a non-zero factor, no matter what you kind of assume. Or however you want to rank that. I do think it does change how teams prepare for you. And I think Dallas are, again, probably the best team at running it. I think that combined with the proactivity, combined with their all around just kind of solid roster across the board when it comes to this Junker Queen composition, whereas with Shock, yes, Proper is an absolute stud no matter what. Every game, he's the most he's Mr. Consistent through and through. But the rest of the team just doesn't necessarily stack up in the same vein. And then there are still some questions when it comes to coordination. Whereas I think like Rush in general has like seemingly always has like formed rosters that gravitate towards these compositions and takes an early fondness to them. So I think it's a little bit less than I think it's a little, I guess depending on how you view this, it's not necessarily a coin flip in my eyes. I think that like Dallas are pretty clearly ahead.
They are the team to beat, but I don't think Shock are that far behind.
Fair.
Yiska, thoughts on Shock before we move to Houston, Toronto?
I think I agree.
London,
like I hope we get a rematch. I think that would be amazing.
Oh, we are getting a rematch at some point. It's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I like. Part of me thinks like it would have been dope. I think both of those teams would have beaten Glatz even in the final version, but it would have been nice to have both of them have to pass that bar. Like maybe, you know, like one of them goes into the lower bracket, has to beat Glatz in losers finals, then has to go to Grants and beat each other again. That would have been dope. But yeah, at this point, like, I mean, they're clearly both the best teams in this meta.
Agreed there, yeah. It's like 1A, 1B for sure.
Houston, rough start. Lost to New York. Lost to London, actually. There was an 0-3 as well. Bit of turmoil in the team. New players being added in. Old players being let go or traded. No idea if Creative Zero, if he's even going to play if he is there. Probably not.
True.
What is your read on Houston Outlaws at the moment? Are they the definitive third best team in NA, or is actually Toronto the third best team and Houston's just kind of locked up their position, but you know they don't deserve it? Who's third? Who's actually better, Houston or Toronto?
Is it crazy to say that there's another team kind of in the mix there? I feel like it's a 3-horse race for third, and I feel like
London. You want to put London?
Yeah, and I know that's like kind of an outside, like, whoa, hot take, spicy, fucking air horn, beep, 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 beep. Like, no, with the record that they've shown, yes. Do I think Backbone is an absolute stud and deserves MVP caliber mentions? Absolutely fucking not. But for whatever reason, this team does perform well. They do. Even in a meta where they shouldn't. Right? Where we're like, Genji is too important. Backbone, we've seen him on it. He ain't good. Week 1, it's proven. It's like, yeah, you know what? We were right. Backbone shouldn't be playing the Genji. Literally do anything else but Genji. They try the Rind. It doesn't work. And then we get to here, right? Where they're actually beating like good teams. They have the 3-0 versus Houston, who I think, again, like you mentioned, it's Toronto, it's Houston, and for my money, London is... I feel like has to be in that discussion. Is that crazy to say?
Their record doesn't show it, but I think their strength in terms of like where they look now and on the upswing, in combination with Yiska's Scrimbucks, does lead me to believe that they are in the running for third. Yeah, because like losing to Florida early on,
yeah,
losing to Atlanta, losing to Washington.
Yeah, but
doesn't give you good taste.
Winning against Outlaws and winning against Defiant does, right? Like that, they just had really weird, like results this stage. So, yeah, it's a weird team. Let's
just combine all three in there. Like, I mean,
yeah, they're just like the absolute mental coin flip, dude. What I had an interview with Sparker.
Speaking of mental coin flip. Let's talk about the LA Glade. Okay, let's not. Let's talk about Sparker. Go on.
Like Sparker said, he had a dope quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's like, we're a team of young people and rookies, people who have never faced adversity in their lives. And that's why, like, they sometimes have mental issues, you know, or mental inconsistencies, you know, which is a based answer.
Never face adversity. Never face adversity.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell if it's a meme or not because their entire season last year was adversity.
Yeah. I mean,
it is, but like in the scope of like however long they've, however old they are, right? Like how many like hard, like how many hurdles have they actually had to get over, right? Like they're playing, like they're professional esports athletes, which again is not something to like sleep on, but they're young kids, like they don't have a ton of life experience. So it's like how much adversity have they really gone through to get here at this point? So it's like it's kind of a self-report, but it makes sense. Like it's a good way to explain like what is happening, even though like your season's being so successful.
Yeah,
all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, I think like scrim results is they were even doing well against Shock. I think
pack it up.
London
winning.
And well means splitting, you know. They are.
But I mean, splitting with one of the best teams in the world, like that's
the thing is, Shock always
good.
underperforms in scrims. Right? That's just what they do. Like they arguably just practice differently. But like, yeah, I think like generally speaking, this is going to be a big test. And keep in mind, they did like drop the spaghetti in Hawaii after beating Atlanta very impressively, and then lost to Mayhem. Also, something like Sparker almost like sounded disgusted by that they did. Like he said something like, "We should never lose to that team." And
which team? Atlanta?
No, Florida.
Oh, right.
And now there's a crowd. So, now I'm wondering, like, you know, like the crowd adds another.
That's the first LAN,
element. Yeah, that's the first LAN. I mean, none of us have seen crowds in like 2 years, and now like, I think it's not a non-issue, especially if you're playing the home crowd in the first match.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's like, does it help or does it hurt? Right? I think we've seen this team like, what was it during Midseason Madness? Like Hottie getting really loud and kind of like becoming this personality in this live environment where it's like, whoa, like I thought you guys were supposed to be good. Like, what's good? Like he kind of almost, it feels like, and I'm very much projecting here, it feels like he kind of like comes up and like rises to the occasion. Does that mean the same for everybody? Hard to say. But I wouldn't necessarily say we should just write them off as like, oh, like it's one of their first LANs with a live crowd. Like it's going to be tough for them because of what they've said in the past. I think it's a coin flip for me whether or not this helps or hurts, and I feel like that goes for like a lot of teams.
Let's finish off with Houston for a little bit because we kind of just jumbled between three teams here. All three teams going for, I think, a potential who is in the top three here because there has to be one team in the top three. Are Houston legit? Because it seemed like they had a slow start, but now they look really good. Now they look like they're coming through, and they didn't even play. No, they did. They 3-0'd Washington. Pelican looks like a god, as you would expect. By the way, all the fans saying Pelican isn't trying. Well, he must be trying because he's fucking insane at the moment.
Where does that narrative come from? What is up with that?
Well, when Piggy left the team, everyone, I saw all these comments from fans like, "Oh yeah, Pelican's packing it in. Look, he doesn't care anymore. He just wants to leave the team." That's what everyone was saying. And like, meanwhile, I'm watching these games, watching him frag. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? So
it's not the game I'm seeing, boys and girls. Like,
so yeah, he is trying. He clearly is trying because he's a competitor and he wants to win. And come on, you guys think Pelican will be selfish enough to like start throwing games because his friend Piggy isn't there? Come on.
Yeah.
This is even worse than the gesture profit bromance accusations that we've heard in the past. Not saying they weren't friends, but like some people made it out like, you know, there's some shit, there's some nepotism or some other head assery going on there, but there's not. Keeping a real PG. So what did I? No, I don't. I'm joking. I'm clearly kidding here. Houston, they feel like a team to me that do have it together. They look like a super scary team that have really good individual pieces. that can get them very far. Now, as we all know, I rate Genjis very highly in this meta, and teams with phenomenal Genjis have a lot of peaks. That's why Shanghai is so good. That's why Shock are good. That's why Dallas are good. And you can extend that to Pelican on Outlaws as well. You know, it's a big part of the team, and you know, it seems like the other pieces are coming together well as well. We all knew that Merit in this meta would thrive, and he's actually got a couple of options because he's playing the Ashe as well now. But even if he doesn't play the Ashe, the Sojourn's phenomenal. He's got one of the best Sojourns that we've seen so far in the league. And like, I'm not the biggest fan of Ashe in this meta. I think she's got some viability. I think she's good on certain maps, but she's not a one-trick hero. But I don't have the same concerns about Outlaws as I do about some other teams with Ashe players, because it's like Outlaws don't have to play the Ashe. I feel like Merit has a bit more flexibility, proven on the Sojourn that he can go back to at any point.
That's what's so surprising about this team, like early on, where they like adopted the Ashe, whereas like I think even Yiska had made mention that like some of the stronger teams behind the scenes maybe are actually playing quite a bit of Ashe.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah, so it's. I agree. Would echo a lot of those same points. I think Houston deserves some credit. I think they had the pieces to play this meta, and I think they've kind of grown into it really, really nicely. A bit of a swing and a miss last week. I thought that maybe Justice had something cooking, and I feel like that game was closer than I think the scoreline showed. But Houston are the real deal.
I'm a bit of a London doubter, so my third is between Outlaws and Defiant. Maybe I'll lean Defiant a little bit even as well. Because now I'm I'm a Defiant believer now. Yeah, I've been converted.
Sure, you've been believing for a minute. I feel like you made this call pretty early on, right?
I did call that Toronto would definitely make their own tournament. I did say that. I didn't say by what scoreline or how good they would look. I would have accepted, even if Toronto came in 8th place here, I would have accepted that as a W. I'm like, yo, that's a W for Defiant. But
I'm more even looking at like the Atlanta call, like week 1. I feel like you had some like really early Atlanta, like Toronto predictions, like early on, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, some of them have been good. I don't know. I missed on a few. I thought Hangzhou would be insane. I missed on that one. Sure. I said Chengdu would be 3rd. Missed on that one. So strangely enough, I've missed on more ones in APAC and hit more in NA somehow. I don't know. It's usually the other way around. It's usually the other way around. But I've hit pretty good in NA, and I've missed quite a bit on APAC, which is weird. By the way, and I also hit on Glad's Atlanta and Boston all missing out.
Yeah.
Hit that one too.
Very true.
I've been hitting the good stuff. Yeah, you'll be having what I'm having if you want good preds. Yes. I'm sober. So yeah, Toronto is the other one. And it's been a turnaround. I think it's been a bit of a turnaround stage for them. They look good. Okay, yeah, did they lose their last match to London, but I think that speaks well for London, and which is painful for me to doubt London even after that. I get it. You know, look, I have to doubt somebody. Somebody's got to have the ire.
Yeah.
And I doubted Glad's pretty hard in this stage. I think most people did. I think their chances of making it were just so slim that it just wasn't possible. You know, I expected Toronto to do something to make sure Glads weren't going to make it in, but this is a little extreme. Toronto, you know, you were supposed to win 3 and 2, not just fucking lose.
True. Glad that Toronto's making their own event. I think we'll start there. Like, form wise, I think that they've looked solid. They've looked consistent, and that's not something you can say with them in the past this season. Like, they've been kind of wishy-washy. I remember them battling really close against Justice. This meta does feel different. And yeah, if when you look at like the 3 teams or maybe the 2 teams, depending on what your viewpoint is, I think it's hard not to put Toronto as like maybe the leaders in that pack. Their performances have shown that like they do understand the meta. They are like, even from week 1, like they were doing these like really intricate like map rotations where like a lot of other teams were just like straight, like the game plan was just very linear. Where I remember, I think it was Toronto, Atlanta on like Oasis. If I'm remembering the map correctly, it was on University. They're doing like underground rotations into like the cubby to split the map in half. Like it was well thought out. I'll say that. Like all meta long, Toronto has had like a very comfortable viewpoint. They've been able to kind of rotate the map in very intricate ways. And I think that that's like something that you can kind of accredit them and say, you know, this is probably a big reason why you're winning these fights. You're taking them in really advantageous positions. Not only that, but you're trading up your resources really well. So yeah, looking good.
I've also not been that impressed by Hisu this season, but now I think I'm starting to become impressed. I think
Sojourn's genuinely good.
I think this stage he's really turned around. At least my impression of Hisu is starting to turn around.
Yeah,
based on this stage. So they're doing a lot of good things. I don't think although is the biggest Genji. He's not a world beater on the Genji. That's maybe a downside of Toronto because you don't have a superstar like Pelican or Sparkle on that specific role. But you know, maybe they'll get by. Maybe it's enough. The loss to London does scare Toronto's chances a bit. I don't think Toronto are a favorite to win this tournament, but I think the crowd buff will help them. Seriously, I'm a firm believer in the crowd buff, and I think Toronto's crowd buff is going to be very good for them.
Yep.
Alrighty. Shall we talk about the pack? Let's smoke that pack. Alrighty. We didn't really talk about the losing teams in NA. I don't know if we want to talk too much about the losing teams in APAC, but I'll briefly touch up on a couple of things. Just a few brief. When I say losing, I mean the ones that don't make the tournament.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know, man. Spark do this shit all the time. You remember last year? They looked invincible in June Joust. They were fucking incredible, and then they come back the next stage and they're just bad. And somehow they've done it again. Spark's like, I'll fucking do it again, and they did. They look amazing in mid-season, and they come back to Summer Showdown this year, and it's just like, nope, we bad. This is just a bad. Summer Showdown is consistently bad.
It is.
It's
cursed.
Hangzhou. I don't know what it is about Stage 3. Stage 3 is just consistently bad for Hangzhou every time. Yeah, okay, they had the travel logistical issues, but like, you know, that excuse was good for like 2 weeks. And then, you know, in the final week when everyone's there, it's like, we can't use that excuse anymore. I even said as well as like, you know, I'm willing to use the excuse of them having the Alpha Yi travel and irony not being able to scrim and blah, 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 blah. I'll use that for a little bit, but after a while, you gotta, you know, something's got to give. And it didn't give and never gave. They won a single game versus Valiant, which considering Valiant's also down there in the dumps with them is not like the most impressive thing in the world. Valiant have, I mean, I don't even know if there's too much to read in here. They went to a bunch of different map 5s. They unfortunately couldn't win those map 5s. Their stage would have looked very different had they won those map 5s. They did actually win one of them, I think, you know, versus Chengdu. But like for Valiant, yeah, I don't know. It's just another one of those stages. I think there's a very Valiant stage, right? What they are a very upbeat kind of team where they try to punch up, but oftentimes they'll just barely miss out. It is pretty tragic. Chengdu, this one's a real tragedy for me. I'm really upset by this one because they look so good. They actually baited me and baited a lot of people into believing in them. And I think in some cases it's similar. Again, it's similar to Mid-Season Madness. They look so good in the first couple of weeks, and they completely shit the bed in the last week. I'm like, what is going on, Chengdu? What the hell's going on? You know, they 3-0 Philly, look so clean as well. They destroy Philly. They beat Hangzhou, which granted, okay, Hangzhou maybe not the most amazing team so far this stage. They lose to Shanghai and lose to Seoul. It's expected. That's supposed to happen. Then they lose to the Charge 3-0. And then they lose to the Valiant 2-3, and it's like, holy shit. Just goes from bad to worse. Can't describe it. I don't know. Leave looked good at the start. Jimmu looked good at the start.
True.
And then towards the end, I remember casting the Guangzhou Chengdu game, and Nisha was just getting bopped. Okay, guy like heavily, he like Ajaxes and just gets destroyed and just doesn't like, you know, he gets just picked off all these different fights. Leaves starting to miss shots now. Jimmu's getting farmed. It's like, it just all fell apart. It's like you're watching a completely different team. It's unreal.
Yeah, it seemed another team that I feel like, and maybe AVRL, you can speak to maybe supporting or downplaying this, but another team that like on paper feels like they should have the pieces, right? You put Leave on Sojourn, toss up for everybody when it comes to, you know, Junker Queen. but Jinmu's Genji has definitely been a pick that like he's historically been very, very good at. Good maybe in a loose sense, depending on who you ask. But like overall, I feel like this team, like on paper, should be able to play things. So is it a teamwork thing? Is it a coordination thing? Like you're saying, like maybe Nisha's just like not on the same page. They're not coordinated.
It's everything. It's Chengdu zone. Chengdu zone is a perpetual coin flip. Apparently.
Very true. Very weird one. It's like them and Spark too.
I mean, we can just transfer this conversation to Guangzhou now. Let's actually start talking about some teams that did make it. Guangzhou Charge 4-2. What a bounce back! They are the Vancouver Titans of APAC. They've bounced back. And you know the best part about Guangzhou bouncing back is I can't use the easy strength of schedule kind of throwaway comment that I made for Vancouver, because in APAC you play a full round robin. You have to play everybody. Everyone has the exact same strength of schedule. Guangzhou lost expectedly to the teams they were supposed to lose to. Again, they get 3-0 by Seoul and Shanghai. Yep, cool. Understand that. They 3-2 Valiant. That actually looked a bit scary, but I think you can't discount Valiant as like a contending team. Like this is a team, I was about to call them a contenders team. That's very different. They're a team that contend. Valiant are a team that contend. So I don't think it's crazy that they got a close game versus the Charge. Charge then beat Philly, which I think was like, and by the way, they reverse swept Philly, which I think was like an insane game from them. Like that to me was a moment I'm like, oh shit, Charge are a real team, right? Because you lose to Seoul and Shanghai, all right. You beat Valiant, okay, it's a close game. You don't want to read into that too far. That's just that's not. You don't get too excited about that.
Right.
But then you beat Philly and you reverse sweep them. You're like, holy shit, this team's the real deal. And then they 3-0 the Chengdu Hunters and they 3-1 the Hangzhou Spark. You're like, wow. Oh, Charge, baby. Holy crap. And they've only changed 2 players. They replaced Develop with Jimmy and Unique with Yveltal, aka Xerneas. And that seems to be enough. That's all they did, and that's like enough. Coaching staff is the same, the other 3 players are the same.
True. I think that those players in particular, I think a lot of people, and credit to, give you the props. I feel like you were the only or one of the big coverage points for some of the APAC, preseason stuff. And that's where Jimmy definitely re-popped back up on my radar at the very least, with some of those like third-party tournaments in the preseason. So when I had heard that like Yveltal was coming back, Jimmy's coming in, like there was I don't know. I felt like there was like a real world where like if Jimmy's form continues and it's a gamble, it's definitely like you gotta hope and pray that it does. It's a little bit of a reach, but we've seen Yveltal, and I think like he is, I think, a talent that we're gonna like look back and look a little ashamed of ourselves that we didn't like big him up as much as we did. If you actually look at his gameplay, you actually look at his stats in these past seasons, it's actually kind of nuts how like slept on he is.
But no, I think everyone knows he's good. It's just like
I don't think that if you ask somebody like top main supports, like his name is near a snap decision as it should be. I think Lee Jae-gon right there, 100%. But I feel like number 2 is very firmly Yveltal for me, or Xerneas now.
Ooh, nah. Wait.
See?
What?
See? Yiska just proved your point, Joe. Huh? Look at that. Boom. I'm just stirring the pot. I don't even know if I agree. I'm just stirring the pot.
Please, like, also activate your amygdala so you can equally just be outraged at this take while people you know like funny Astra exist.
Speaking of activations, my frontal lobe is activated because I'm entertained. I am entertained.
Do you feel like you rate Astro's Brig? Do you rate
you don't
Astro
have to,
on
but
like
yeah.
flex supports?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You don't have to when you judge somebody else. But when your team has an abundance of resources where you actually don't have to.
Yeah, because
I feel like a team that a person that has competed at that. Go ahead.
Because he's good enough to be the Lucio guy in one of the best teams in the world. His Lucio is like transcendentally better than Yveltal.
I would disagree, but
okay.
I don't think it's worse. I don't think it's worse. I'll say that. I don't think they're like far off. I would say that they're, in my mind at least, they're comparable at Lucio.
You don't think
But
it's
when
far
I look
away?
at the, yes, it's not far away.
1987.
I see what you did there. I think when I look at like the package of what Astro brings and what Yveltal brings or Xerneas brings, I think it's a clear decision for me in my mind that I take the person who has started on a number of heroes and a person who only starts on one hero. I think that's not super crazy.
I'll drop in a take. I would rather have Xerneas Mercy than Funny Astro Mercy. I'll say that.
Sure.
Other heroes, I'm going to refrain from speaking, but I'll say just Mercy. I take Xerneas. Just Mercy.
I like you have me when you say like we're underrating him, because I still vividly remember when we were saying, Nisha, Yveltal, 1A, 1B.
What's the difference?
Which I think like was just cap and cope for like, you know,
fans.
For Chengdu fans, maybe even a little foray in order to justify like having some leverage over a player that was acting out and like subbing him out, right? If we talk like Astro is gapping Lee Jae-gon on Lucio, and now Xerneas is a nah.
I don't know about that one. Even then, I don't know that like those three on Lucio are like too far off.
Lee Jae-gon's the GOAT. He's my GOAT.
Remember like back in,
I don't care how much he feeds, he's my GOAT.
I think that like they all kind of carry this marker of like main supports that can actually frag. And like that's not a common thing.
You know what? Lee Jae-gon, that guy could run into spawn and feed, and trust me, he does, and he's still my GOAT. That's my frog right there.
I mean, he has been doing that for half a season now.
I literally just said he does.
Yeah.
So I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah?
I'm saying it doesn't matter to me. He's still my GOAT, even though he literally feeds. He's my GOAT.
Yeah.
Because you know what? He sows fear into the hearts of the enemy, and that's what counts.
I mean, Funny Astro soars headshots into the head of the enemy.
It's true. Like, and again, let's be very clear.
He doesn't do it while sending himself into the enemy spawn.
Very true. Nobody's saying that Astro's bad. I want to make that very clear. Nobody's saying that Astro isn't like a transcendental Lucio.
Yeah.
What I want to make very clear is that the package of Astro versus the package of Lee Jae-gon versus the package of Yveltal or Xerneas, it's just not the same.
You know what the most
I feel like if you give Astro the break, he is probably within 5% of skewed.
Do you guys want to? Do you want to? Or
Maybe.
you ready for a hot take? You ready for a nice scolding take?
Hit me,
last
baby.
year, I think Yveltal's brig was better than both of those players.
I'm not mad at that.
Everyone's like
stats support it too.
Like skewed brig. I'm like, bro, Yveltal brig's better. I'm sorry, it is. Yveltal brig was the only brig that I seriously believe threatened Lip Sombra the correct way that Lip needed to be threatened to actually put pressure on him.
Mm-hmm.
You can miss me with Skewed ever doing that. Yveltal did that shit though.
Skewed, I think in most people's minds, in the general audience minds, Skewed comes up more. I would imagine Skewed comes up more if you ask them who is like the top main support. Like name me some top main supports. I feel
it's
like
funny because he's not even a main support. That's the funny part.
Exactly. I feel like that name pops up before Xerneas does. And I think that's like
wrong.
A tragedy.
I mean, that's
Flex
wrong,
support pops up before Xerneas does.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
This is funny.
That I think is a tragedy.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. It's something that maybe, and chat, be honest. Comment section. You need to be honest with me. If that does it, if you do believe that, it's okay. Just know that like.
Now, granted,
Xerneas is nuts.
I don't know that I would have that same take this year because Xerneas has only played a little bit. So that's very fair. I'm still waiting it out. I'm not saying he's better than Skewed this year, but I do think he was better than Skewed last year. Here's my problem with Yveltal as a player. My biggest issue with him is that he could have been starting on the Hunters this year. He could have been retained on the Hunters and they would have let Nisha go instead. Had he not fucked around and like gotten lazy and had that internal issue with Hunters last year, I guarantee you that was the reason he got dropped.
Yeah.
Right? The whole Monk Faraway thing, I think that, whatever, Monk started more for Hunters last year than Faraway did. Understandable. I'd probably take Monk as well. But the ideal position for Hunters to be in would be to retain Yveltal and Monk. Yep. And then, offload Nisha and Faraway. But They keep Nisha because Yveltal caused issues for the team last year. My problem with Yveltal is that I think he's a better player than Nisha, but because of that problem, he's now on the other team, and we're going to get to the part where I talk about the fact that Charge are better than Hunters at the moment. We will get there. But the Sky probably needed the kick up the butt. He needed to have the fire lit up under his ass to go to contenders, to have his career threatened, for him to then be motivated enough to come back and start fragging again. He comes back, he starts fragging, he looks better than Nisha, and he's looking like one of the best main supports we have in the Eastern region. Now, I hate that because he's the kind of guy that you kick from your team because he's fucking around, he has a bad attitude, but you'll know he's a good player, but then he gets pissed off and he gets motivated after you kick him, and now he's good again. And if I'm on Hun too, I'm just like, motherfucker, why couldn't you have just done that and been motivated on my team? Fuck you. That's such an annoying position to be in. Because if you don't kick him, he's still an asshole on your team. You have to deal with this guy, and you wish you had Nisha. But if you do kick him, now he's good again. What a dickhead. But, credit to him for being good. But I'm just saying, like, from a Hunter's POV,
it is frustrating.
It is so bullshit from a Hunter's POV to have this guy that now suddenly good again. When, like, if he just didn't have a bad attitude, he could have just been good on your team.
Yeah.
And Hunters didn't do anything wrong, to my knowledge. It was just Yveltal being a little shithead who needed to have his head pulled in, and now that he got his head pulled in because he got kicked, he's suddenly good again. And it's like, fuck you.
He is an unpopular truth. You ready for an unpopular truth for which I will possibly be beheaded?
You do at least one of those podcasts, so go on.
Some players are good enough to be assholes. It's worth them being assholes because their skills make it that it's okay to put up with it.
You're right, but I feel like much in the same way you shouldn't say things to students. I hate that GMs hear this and they go, you're right. I should keep my all-star player around even though he's an absolute brat.
The problem is Yveltal
there is a very short list of people who fit that bill.
Yveltal was not only a brat, but he was also shit while being a brat. He's the kind of guy that while he is a brat, his performance tanks.
Yeah.
I would be more okay with it if he was like a god while being a brat. At that point, you can put up with this. Like, at least we're winning. Fuck it, Like the whole Striker thing is like, at least Striker's fragging. He's an asshole, but at least he's fragging. Yveltal was like, literally, he was sandbagging the whole team.
Yeah.
That's the bad part. You can't even like apply the same argument.
No, for sure. For sure. There's different levels of assholery. But my point is, like, you need to be, like, for sure, you need to be an elite player in the Overwatch League, right? Like, it's not enough to be Sam. You need to be proper, right?
Yes.
It's not enough.
And how many people are proper, Yiska?
Okay. You named a couple players there, so I'll put them on the list of assholes. I understand.
It's not enough, to...
I get it.
Yeah, like...
I read between the lines.
You can afford some character flaws, or you can also demand some leverage in roster negotiations and who you want on your team if you're good enough. That's the privilege that you have as a top player, is that you can throw your weight around, and hopefully you don't use your brownie points on allowing yourself to be an asshole, but instead use them and shop for better teammates that way. But yeah. Oh well.
Oh well.
So, Charge with all their Hunters cutoffs end up being beating the Hunters. The Charge Hunters games was basically a Hunters internal scrim.
Yeah.
And Charge won. But I'm proud of them. I'm proud of Charge for making the turnaround. Also, you know what? I'm proud of the fact that everyone wanted to hang the Charge coaches out to dry.
Mm.
And fuck you, they won. The coaches won. So you know what? Once again, the community has no idea what coaching is and how coaching works. It's another W for the coaches.
Rare coach W.
Again, coach win equals good. Coach lose equals bad. If you truly thought the coaches were bad, you'd still be after the next right now, despite them winning.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't. You only care when coach lose bad. So screw you. Seoul Dynasty. Coach bad. No, 5-1. Look, not a bad record. Bit of a close call versus Philly. lost versus Shanghai. Do you get a bit of a... Actually, have we talked about Fusion yet? Oh, fuck it. We already started on Seoul. We'll get to Fusion next. Or maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just skip Fusion and make them mad. That works for me. Seoul Dynasty. They kind of give you the same feeling as mid-season, almost. Like the last week is again a bit shaky. It's like, ooh, you know, last stage, the final week was like they lose the Fusion. And it's a bit of an omen. It's like, oh, okay, Seoul, you know, not as invincible as we thought. Granted, Fusion had a crazy good game. Seoul Dynasty this time around, they dropped maps to Fusion. And then, how many maps did they drop again? It was a lot, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a 5 map. Holy shit. Yeah, they went to 5 maps. And Fusion had a 2-1 lead. Are we concerned about Seoul? You know, they lost to Shanghai. They went map 5 Fusion. Is this like Seoul dwindling a little bit?
I would have liked this. I mean, it's a 3-0. It definitely wasn't a 3-0 that looks like a 3-0. You know, it was much closer. I still would have liked for this to be a map 5er, though. I think that's usually where the quality is. I mean, this is also a meta where everyone sort of looks mortal a little bit. Other than like, yeah, I don't know. You're allowed one. Like, I'm not sure. I think these teams are probably 65-35 at the moment for me, with Shanghai having maybe 60-40 even. So if they rematch, I think there's a chance that Seoul takes it back.
Definitely
against Fusion. Like against Fusion
Shanghai.
or Shanghai. Okay. Yeah.
I feel like when you're tested against another like top team, it's unfortunate because there are some like narrative implications. It's unfortunate that you don't have like the perfect stage, but if you are gonna lose, it's gonna be to that team, right? So I definitely agree with Yiska that like you play that match out, I think 100 or so times. I think it goes pretty differently. I don't expect either Shanghai or Seoul, but obviously primarily Seoul because that's the team we're talking about, to really be dropping games to like a Charge or a Philly. I feel like, again, APAC kind of feels like a lock for like who we should expect to be the final 2 teams. Whether or not we get those 2 teams, we'll have to see who shows up on the day. But as it stands right now, the form that we've seen with the 6 or so games, I feel like it's 6 games that we've played throughout this qualifying stage.
6, yeah.
Shanghai and Seoul feel like the top 2 teams. It's pretty clear, cut in stone. Third maybe is up for debate, but it feels like this is a final waiting to happen again.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know who else.
To what? To us what?
Who else has it in them to make it to APAC finals, if not Seoul and...
Oh yeah, they're a lock. Sorry, Charge and Fusion. I think Seoul Dragons is a lock for the finals. It has to be. They're too far ahead.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about Dragons last, so let's just do Fusion now. Really a rough stage, but then they bounce back. You know, they actually make it with a 2-4 scoreline.
Yep.
And meanwhile, there's 3 teams in NA sitting at 2-4, looking very envious over towards Fusion. Like, what the fuck? And yeah, Fusion have a 2-4 tiebreaker versus Hunters, of which Fusion, they get good maps versus Seoul. I think that's a big deal, by the way, getting good maps versus Seoul. And then versus Hangzhou, they specifically needed a scoreline of either 3-0 or 3-1, and they got the 3-1. So it feels like a fairy tale. It feels like a bit of a Cinderella story here going on. You know, they barely make it in by the finest of margins, but then they do. And Hunters lose again. Except this time, you know, I think, well, actually, I'll say it twice. You know, last time I felt like Hunters got slightly robbed out of mid-season. Now I feel like Fusion 100% deserve it. Like, Hunters actually screwed themselves so hard here. All they needed to do was not lose to either Guangzhou or Valiant. Like, just beat one of them. And they lost against both. Right? So it's fully Chengdu's fault.
Yeah.
Can't blame points. Can't blame, you know, kickoff clash tournament points, nothing. It was just 100% Hunter's fault this time. And they deserve to lose. And Fusion deserved to go because the Fusion also looked like the better team by far. So, what a run.
For sure. And honestly, I mean, in this meta, you just gotta play MN3. I know you have like internal discussions, probably like about what kind of hero Sojourn is, and like you think some aspects of her suit Carpe more. Nah, it's MN3. It's MN3, right?
Yeah, that splash potential I feel like is just too much. Like the explosivity of somebody that like MN3 versus somebody like Carpe is just something I don't feel like you can lose. I understand that there's a prevailing narrative that like Carpe should just play all the time, and I'm not. I have to at least announce my own bias that I have not like been fine tooth combing a lot of APAC VODs, but it's hard for me to look at, mid-season madness and what MN3 has showed me on like a number of heroes that are at least viable in some ways, would be at the Ashe, be at the Sojourn. And I don't think you could just sideline that. That's a tough call to make. Like Carpe has to be like head and shoulders, like much more consistent in practice for me to go, yeah, that player that can just like win the game for me. We got to bench him. That's a tough one to make.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't claim to know. I think it's inherently just in the structure of this team that they're, whatever meta you give them, they're probably going to be decent on average, but only because the average is like we're world beaters one day and then not the other. And that's very unfortunate. I think like a lot of rookies struggle with this because of the Sparker quote. And I mean, I don't know how you fix that other than just giving them experience. It's just what's got to happen in this situation. I think also, once again, what does MN3 do actually for this team is it implicitly takes pressure off the backline because he kills shit quicker. Right? Like, I feel like inherently the actual issue still is to be found in the backline for this team, where they have survivability issues against top teams. And it's understandable because if a lip is sitting in your face, you have a problem, right?
Yeah.
Or if like a Fitz or a Stalker is sitting in your face, right? So you gotta make do with what you have, and I mean, this is ideally you'd find a pattern as to see, okay, Carpe is your player that's always going to deliver. He's like your high tide player, right? But he's not going to make waves. Ideally, you can time when MN3 is on and then you play him. But maybe that's not possible.
So anyway, Carpe. That's all I have to say. Let's move on to the Shanghai Dragons, unless you guys already started talking about the Shanghai Dragons.
Nope.
No.
Carpe. What can I say? If it wasn't for Fusion taking that one map of Shanghai, there would have been 18-0. We all talked about Seoul doing 18-0. It was actually Shanghai. How on earth is Shanghai 3-0ing versus Seoul? That's crazy. That's a wild result. And it's even a pretty close game as well. Despite it being a 3-0, you look at the scorelines, you look at the performance, it was a pretty close game that Gibraltar went like really far in the distance as well. And Shanghai just proved how clutch they are, The final Lip Widow clip on Gibraltar that sends them across the line. I mean, it's just one of those classic Lip moments, one of classic Shanghai moments where they refuse to lose and they will win no matter what. Lee Jung Tower clip as well, like Izuyaki running away on the brig, them clutching 3v5, like what an incredible play, you don't see teams clutching 3v5 in this meta. You don't. When you're down one player, you're probably favored to lose. When you're down two players, you're almost guaranteed to lose. There's no way you win a 3v5 and yet they won a 3v5. I can't believe that. The Dragons are just doing some amazing, immaculate shit here. Like, it blows my mind how good they are.
That's what makes them like frustrating. I feel like isn't the right word, but like the English language is failing me.
Let's say it in Chinese then.
I wish I could. It's reminiscent of the past, right? You can see the championship form is still in there, but like then I remember the midseason madness. I'm like, bruh, like talk about deflated, talk about just not up to the expectations I feel like we put on this team. And maybe I feel like maybe that's it. Now that I'm kind of talking through it, is like the expectations just seem to like bounce up and down so drastically sometimes, where it's like, okay, they start them at a week and then they actually look so good, and then they go to the tournament and then they kind of look bad, and then they come back and they look so good again. It's like, I want to comfortably put this team at number 1 in APAC, but I don't know that you can right now.
What do you mean? They just beat everybody. They're at 18-1.
Right.
What
Again,
do you mean?
let me be very clear. Do you feel like it's comfortable? Or do you feel like it's like nipping at their heels? Okay, that's fair.
No, it's comfortable as fuck. Look at the score lines.
I mean, they did
kicking my feet up.
simple.
Kicking my feet up. 18-1.
Are you not at all like worried that like they rock up to this tournament and it's just more of the same, or like they just don't perform?
Nah.
Or is this just like different?
Secretly, yes, but no. On the outside, no. Not at all. Nope. Not at all.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like, no, because here's the thing. You want to know a big difference between this tournament and last tournament?
Mm-hmm.
Contenders. Oh, baby, contenders.
Okay, I see. I think I see where you're going. Yeah.
Here's something people need to remember. Mid-season madness and kickoff clash, no contenders. Contenders teams do not have access to the game. And in the case of mid-season madness, despite having access to the game, they're on a different patch. Contenders already started playing Jungle Queen. Mid-season was still on the non-Jungle Queen patch. So they can't scrim with each other at all. Now, finally, because here's one of the biggest weaknesses of APAC so far this year, and probably part of the reason why they were more disappointing, especially in mid-season madness, in terms of practice quality. They just have way less practice quality. They have fuck all teams to scrim against and play against and practice against. And the quality of those teams starts to dip as well because, Charge have been really shit for 2 stages. Valiant are a mixed bag. I mean, they're a mixed bag of the best times. Hunters, a bit of a mixed bag as well. They gravitate from good to bad, and they bounce back like one of those pendulum swings all the time. Hard to tell where Hunters are at. Fusion, they can be a mixed bag too. You know what? So a Spark. You know what? So a Hunter. You know what? 5 or 7 teams here in APAC, they're all mixed bags. Everybody's a mixed bag. Like a jelly bag, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get. And for what it's worth, no, I don't eat the licorice flavored jelly beans, the dark ones. They don't taste good. Which team is the licorice jelly bean? You tell me. I'm not going to say it.
Depends on the day.
It depends on the day. So when you finally get access to O2 Blast and Talon and T1 and whoever the hell's good in China right now, like that's a game changer. That is a fucking game changer. Because you have no idea. Like, part of the reason why APAC was good last year was because the quality of scrims in Asia, when you get to play against proper on O2 Blast, is insane. Like, that scrim quality is unreal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you expect this to manifest in such a way that we can return to where we were last year by finals this year? So what I'm saying is, like, with contenders finally online, with Overwatch 2 like right on the horizon, like you said, like we're 20 some odd days out, depending on when you listen to this. Is there a world where APAC gets back online? They have all the strongest practice, and like they're like the odds-on favorite to win.
Even from ranked, like forget about scrims now. Yeah, everyone gets to play ranked soon, in 20 odd days, less than 30 days from now.
Right.
But beyond that, ranked quality in Korea is just so insane. And once everyone gets to play ranked, like, can you imagine the practice quality you'll finally have? Here's something that's very evident about players on Shanghai. Guys like Lip, I'll use him as the example. He is one of those grinders. Right? There are people that are just naturally talented at the game where they can scrim fuck all and they're insane. I don't know who that is because I don't want to just assume things. And I don't want to like downplay someone's commitment to the game when probably they also practice a lot, so I'm just not going to say anybody. But then there are players that I know they're good because they grind the fuck out of the game and they play a lot of the game and they just practice. And that's guys like Lip. So when Lip doesn't have access to the game and he can't scrim and he can't, well, he can scrim, but he can't do it. He can't scrim as much as he wants to, or he can't like pug or play any sort of games as much as he wants to. He doesn't look good. How long did it take Lip to pick up the Sojin this year? A very long time. It took him ages to get the Sojin under lock. And now he finally looks good on the Sojin. He started looking good last stage, but not quite good enough. Now he looks legit. Now he looks legitimate on the Sojin. It's actually night and day. And so much of it just comes down to practice quality, amount of practice you have, and quantity of hours put into the game. And, you know, he just needed more time than other players. Well, he's one of the players that needs to grind the game. So when you have ranked available, when you have contender scrimming again, all these things contribute to helping the grinders get back on the grind and helping increase the quality of games, because it's not just the quantity, it's the quality of games as well, which is suddenly increases a lot in APAC. So while I'm not going to use this opportunity to say that APAC will lock it in, they'll just win, as much as I want to stir the emotions of the NA fans, which I love doing. And they take the bait every time. Trust me, they get that shit hook, line, and sinker every time. Yeah, it's like, you know, the practice quality of APAC is about to shoot way up compared to where they were. Whereas I don't know if that's entirely true for NA, given that they've already had better practice quality to start with. But like, I don't think it's a hot take to say Korean ranked is far superior to NA ranked. I think even the NA players will tell you that. NA players who have tried Korean ranked, especially on low ping, can tell you that Korean ranked is better. It just is. So, yeah, the practice quality from Asia is about to shoot right up.
Definitely makes me excited for finals even more, right? Like, we're not to point to any rumors, but you know, I think it's not crazy to see maybe some influx of sponsors returning, and then to think about, you know, APAC
leak
really. No leaks. I know nothing, but you know, if I put 2 and 2 together, I think a game comes out. I think popularity rises. I think, you know, talk about trends. I feel like this becomes trending, and maybe people want to, you know, put some money into something that's trending. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. And then you have like APAC coming online. You have the defending champions, like maybe can actually defend their title, possibly. You know, I think we're shaping up for a really, really interesting final stretch to the season. And
agreed.
yes, I understand that Junker Queen has not been the best meta. I think we're only really getting better from here, and I think it's like to the moon. It's really exciting.
Oh, moon? Shanghai Dragons moon?
Moon? What? Leak? I don't know. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Want to get our predictions in? Predications?
Yiska, thoughts on dragons?
I mean, I'm kind of happy that they're back to their old shit. I think that statement by Moon still like one of the more badass things said in Overwatch League history, I think.
What statement?
The statement, like, where you basically said, like, they were, like, too oversatiated, and they're, like, a bad team now, and they gotta shape up again. And it seems to have worked, right?
Sure.
I think they kind of needed that kick up the ass. At the same time, once again, it's a meta tide, so not sure if that really, you know, can be both. That they got better as a team, but also better in the meta. But yeah, like, it's super unfortunate because I think legitimately, I tweeted this before, but Dallas against Shanghai would have been a banger this time around. I think there's no way where these two regions meet this time around, and it becomes so underwhelming in terms of the outcome.
Good.
Preddies?
Yep. Preddies.
Okay.
I think we're preddies.
Time to pred. I'm ready.
I'm ready.
So, Bring up the bracket. Bring him up.
Bring it up. Bring it up.
We're having technical difficulties with Eric. Connection
I
hiccup.
mean, we can just start.
Yeah,
We
we
can start talking about the game.
Wait, which bracket do we want to
Number
start?
one.
Which region?
True. It's something we have to consider this time around.
We just started. We just finished talking about APAC, so might as well start there.
Right.
I feel like it's much more cut and dry as well.
Let me bring up the bracket myself.
So Charge gonna win the title. Let's go.
As much as
What was
I've been
the,
a charge simp this stage,
Yeah,
I don't know.
What was the 2020 title they took? Summer Showdown?
Yep.
There it is. Written in the stars. The prophecy is, you know, so all there.
I mean, I've been trying to tell y'all this shit's cursed. We have a summer curse in Overwatch. You know,
It's not
Brood
wrong.
War had the curse of the fall. The summer curse is real. We get some weird results, and then they immediately tank when it comes to the playoff patch. History, it's a little flimsy, but I feel like it's not super out of the like realm of like. There's just something within like how Blizzard patches the game that like some team in the summer just always like kind of pops up when you don't really expect them to, for whatever reason. Right? Maybe when we start, it could be a number of things.
That sounds like a
culminating.
blessing. That sounds like a blessing to me.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely is you know could reframe it as blessing. Maybe I should. I don't know, but yeah, it's hard to say that maybe Charge has a deep run. They have to win like a game to like really.
I mean, a deep run is one game.
Yeah,
That's a deep run.
That's how I have it working out as well. But I don't know. We'll get to it.
All right. All right. Here we go.
Okay.
By the way, Shanghai picked Guangzhou. Actually, I don't know if that's worth talking about real quick, but like Philly are the 4th seed. They're 2 and 4, but Shanghai would rather play Guangzhou. That says a lot.
That's weird.
I feel like there's a lot of subtext there.
Yeah.
They would rather dodge
Yeah.
the Fusion, despite Fusion being the lower seed.
There's such a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde team. Like sometimes they just look really, really good, and sometimes they can't like tie their shoes together for their for their lives. So it's I get it. I think I get it. I think Charge is probably the more known quantity, but yeah. See what you're
But
saying.
also, like, I think for whatever reason, Fusion have just had a good year of games versus Shanghai. They keep they're like a bit of a bogey team for Shanghai, and they keep threatening Shanghai over and over and over. So I think if you're Shanghai, you're like, hopefully Seoul beat them, because Seoul have had a good record versus Philly, and then Charge can knock out Philly in the lower bracket. I think that would be Shanghai's hope, right?
That's you said Charge knocking out Philly in the lower bracket? Just to be clear?
Wow, I'm saying that's what Shanghai want.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. That would be ideal for Shanghai for sure. Like you said, like their head to head is not clean. If anything, they have some lumps there. And yeah, I could see how, getting them out early would be a blessing for them, and they just have to deal with Seoul, a team that they've, handled in the past. They just recently handled. So I get you.
So, all right. Does Shanghai just beat Charge? Any hope for the Charge, or are we locked in for Shanghai? I'm locked in for Shanghai.
You gotta lock Shanghai.
Yeah.
I've simped for Charge a little bit. Maybe they're the 3rd best team. But yeah, I don't think you beat.
I mean, simping for Charge is like simping for Vancouver. You're like, you've had a good run, but
yes, exactly.
let's
be reasonable.
When you have to go up against the big dogs. You have to, you kind of have to go for the big dogs here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we all 3-0. Does anyone want to give Charge, even argue one map for Charge, or
maybe, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah.
Damn, so down on the Charge that Yiska says it doesn't even matter. Alrighty. Next game. Fusion Dynasty. Now, this one is an interesting game. Is it weird to think that maybe Fusion can do something real big here? Possible.
It's not impossible, but like you got to give it to Seoul. Your question is, how many, right?
Yeah. I mean, they just recently played 3-2, right? Week 18, they go 3-2. It's weirdly close. Let me just double check. I'm on the right Wikipedia page. I am. Seoul ends up squeaking it out. Philly's not a bad team. It depends on who shows up on the day. We've seen Seoul also kind of just like show up and slump sometimes. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think maybe this is a little bit closer than you would expect, but you know, gun to head, who do you pick to win? You kind of have to say Seoul, right? I agree with AVRL though. This is definitely one to like maybe not sleep on. Definitely like banger potential.
I feel like it's not a 3-0.
Yeah.
Does anyone else feel that way?
No. But is it the 3-2?
Hard to say. It depends.
If you want maximum heartbreak, you got to say it's 3-2. Maximum heartbreak. Otherwise, it's 3-1.
Do we have Bad Pachamari preds yet?
Is he the? Are they like the straw to break the tie?
No, that's the thing where you do the opposite.
I can already tell you. If Bad Pachamari is printing, he would 100% pred for Seoul, because apparently if he preds for Philly, they lose. But then if he preds for Seoul, people think he's a hater. So he actually can't win.
No, he did pred Fusion.
Ooh.
Well, in that case, I'm going to take back everything I said.
Wins.
Yeah, we're going 3-0. 3-0.
Bro, this guy, bro. He said he also printed charge. Come on,
let's go. BP is a truther.
Okay,
Charge
low bracket.
truther.
Low bracket.
This is like playing into your own meme and having the the fucking outcome like prove you even more wrong. Like if he's now wrong about his meme, that becomes a reverse curse, and I'm not able to catch up on the levels that we're on. So his first round losers bracket is Dragons versus Dynasty, which is No. I think intuitively I go 3-1 Dynasty.
Yeah.
Agreed. So charge Fusion in the lower bracket?
Yeah. Do we want to fly through like the elim rounds, like whatever, and then come to a grand finals conclusion? I'm just going 3-1 charge.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think that's the charge is 1 win.
Oh no, there's a Fusion believer. Oh no.
Is there? AVRL? Do we think they can do it?
Wait.
Oh, should I be a Fusion believer? Am I crazy that like Fusion have a way higher peak than charge?
Now, I also like to consider that in the winners bracket final that Bad Pachamari predicted, the charge win, which means the Fusion will win, which means we are wrong.
Listen, Mr. T Leaves, I'm not trying to reverse engineer the cosmos to figure out who wins. Just tell me who you think, which colored team wins, the blue team or the orange team?
I kind of think Fusion win.
That's fair. I don't think it's
charge
clear.
Are a little overrated coming into all this.
Okay.
And I think Fusion's current peaks are just so much higher. Like Fusion, so far, have showed up in 2 tournaments out of 2.
Sure.
Okay, they didn't win, but that's not what showing up necessarily means.
Deep. They made some.
It means that you can actually make a run, and I think Fusion have made a run twice.
True.
And I think they're also peaking at the right time. Like Fusion just started peaking, right at the end. And the Seoul scoreline says a lot, like 2-3 versus Seoul, and they reached 2-1 match point first. Like, come on, like that's worth a lot. And that being said, I would also like to see Fusion go up 2-0 versus the charge and then get reverse swept again. But the manner in which they get reverse swept is that on map 3, they decide to sub in Carpe, and then Carpe never gets subbed down, and then they get reverse swept.
Is that the
That's what I want to see happen. That's what I want to see happen. But what I think will happen is that Fusion will win. But I want Fusion to get reverse swept by charge by subbing in Carpe. just for the maximum amount of depression that it would cause.
All right.
So yes, Fusion are winning is what I'm saying.
Fair.
But you guys
yeah.
are saying Charge win, right? So
Yeah, I don't hate Fusion winning. I think that this match is a little bit of a coin flip. It depends. It really feels like this is Philly's game to lose, right? Like, and I guess in that way, it's also their game to win. But like, hopefully, like what I'm pointing at is a little bit more clear. This game is very winnable for them. But if they just don't show up at like on form, on the same page, just like dotting their I's, crossing their T's, I feel like the Charge are a little bit like more consistent. They definitely don't have those same peaks like AVRL mentioned. But Fusion feels too risky to bet on for me at least.
Too risky.
Feels a little risky.
Is Charge not a risk? I don't know. Yiska tiebreak us.
Fuck. Nah, I'm going Charge.
All right. The Fusion fans will remember this.
Yeah, as well.
The top.
Roston, I'm sure.
True, yeah.
I fucking hate my DMs. Sigh. Well, at least by the time this comes out, most of the general managers will probably be knee deep in preparation, and won't might be missing this.
Just gloss over it, right? Nothing to see here, folks. Just keep on prepping.
Meanwhile, in the upper bracket, we have the match again. We have the rematch once more. Draganos versus Dynasty. So, fuck, you know what? I'm ride or die Dragons this tournament.
Right.
I'm
Same.
ride or die Dragons this tournament.
Yeah, same. And I don't think it's going to be very nice. It's not going to be all that close, at least in my book. I feel like Dragons, like, say what you will about midseason. Say what you will about, the start of the season. The Dragons, in the way that they look right now, I think I'm coming around to the idea that, like, they are just, like, head and shoulders above Seoul. Like, when you do 3-0 them and you do it in the fashion that they did, and then Seoul does play Philly close. They beat them, but they play them close. Like, that's not a sign of, like, good tidings, right? That's not, like, a good sign of confidence. So yeah, I think this is like, I'll give Seoul a game just because, like, I do expect them to, like, be that, like, second best team, or, like, at least, like, keep it close. But I feel like this is just a Dragons runaway. Like, they're off to the races. Like, this is another title, another star.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm crazy. I even think it might be a 3-0. I'm that crazy. What about you, Yiska? You crazy?
I mean, they just played
you ready
3-0.
You ready to cop a DM from Arnold? What's going on?
That's my job.
I mean, if he tries that on me, I'm just going, you just lost 3-0. What do you expect me to do? I've literally like empirical evidence of this happening before, like 5 days before. Nah, 3-0 sounds good.
Now, what he's gonna do? He's gonna wait, and if Seoul upset Dragons here, he's gonna DM you.
I mean, that is the ultimate. Like, sit on it and wait, and then when it happens, you can talk a lot of shit. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely, like, hold this vibe until the finals, because I feel like my finals are a kind of sleeper. So
I don't hate giving Dynasty a map here. I just think, man, bruh.
Yeah. I feel like the more interesting game.
I'm feeling generous. Should we do 3-1?
I'm not hurting.
I think it's fair. I don't care either way, to be personally. I think as long as Shanghai wins, like, it really doesn't matter. Most of the time, it doesn't matter. Like,
okay, Moon. All right, go down.
Is this not like the final? Is this not like the game that's going to be a little bit more interesting?
Yeah, Charge Dynasty is the final for me. So,
yeah,
final for second place.
Yeah.
Actually, kind of true.
Like, even if it's Philly, like if you have Philly advancing from the lower bracket, Philly Seoul, we've already seen what that looks like. It goes the distance. Yes, Seoul maybe takes it, but again, it depends on what Philly shows up. Now that we've got Charge there, can Charge keep them close? Because we've seen this match. Granted, it was earlier on in this meta, so maybe you give some extra points to Charge because they've like kind of, it feels like maybe they've grown into the meta a little bit, or maybe have leveled up. But is there a world where maybe this is just boring as hell and Seoul just kind of like mollywops him 3-0 again?
I mean, maybe.
So here's my position here. You already know that I think Charge is a bit overrated.
Sure.
In this tournament, so we're gonna ask me. I'm going Seoul 3-0 here.
Oh, 3-0 is high.
But
I'm
3-0
with
is
you.
likely. Are you saying high and likely, or high as in like you're
here's
on
the thing: is
ganja?
I know you guys believe in Charge a lot more, so you.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely
Please,
think Seoul wins this, but 3-0 is.
Yeah.
It's either 3-0. I want to say almost 3-2, but I'm saying 3-1.
Okay, is there a world that Charge win? You guys
No.
Are you guys backing
Seoul
Charge
has
at all?
Seoul has to blunder so nasty.
So
and I
Seoul
mean,
are
like,
definitely winning then.
yeah, I feel like
Okay.
yes, 100% they win.
Yeah, it's
Then-
a Dragon Soul rematch. Yeah.
Dragon
Okay.
Soul rematch 4-0. We're all going home early.
Yes. Do we all have this 4-0? Because I know I do.
Wait, did we lock in the? Oh, so we go to the finals now.
Yeah.
I have this one 4-1.
Ooh.
Okay, based.
I feel the 4-1. I feel the 4-1 because I think Seoul can get a map here.
Okay.
But I wouldn't even hate 4-2, but we're not getting a 4-3. This does not go to 7.
Definitely not. No.
This does not go to 4-7.
No. And it's sad that that's not the case, but I guess maybe in some people's minds, the quicker we get out of here, the better it is. Get off Junker Queen as fast as possible.
Uh-huh.
And then yeah, I think in that way, Dragons might be any percenting this whole dynasty here.
Wow.
I give them maybe an early match, but when you have to actually face the team that just beat you in the rematch, I feel like they're kind of prepped for you. They have your number. Like, what really? That's what sucks about this meta. And I still stand by. I find it enjoyable for the most part. But what sucks about it in this kind of circumstance is that there's really nothing for you to change. There's nothing to adapt. Like, yeah, sure, you can allocate your resources like a little bit differently, but like there's nothing big picture to change where it's like Dragons just have you beat. And there's really not much you can do about it, but just like hope your timings are a little bit crisper. Hope that like you're moving together as a team. It's really just flowery bullshit that like you just have to make sure it's all the screws are tightened, all the nuts are, screwed on. And I don't know that you can do enough to like reach the Dragons right now.
They do seem a little too far beyond reach, so yeah.
Yeah.
Is it we happy with what score do you guys want? I'm saying 4-1.
I'm
What are
down
you
for
guys feeling?
4-1. I think it's clear that Dragons win. 4-0, 4-1. I feel like similar vibe, so I'm cool with the 4-1. I think that's fair. Don't want to poo-poo on Seoul.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
They're a good team for sure.
4-1 it is.
They're good for 1.
4-1 it is. I feel like everyone's about to have the same bracket. Actually, that's incorrect because we already have a different bracket because I already said that Fusion was winning the lower.
Yeah.
Sure. But
You
it
know
all
what?
returns to
Oh,
Rome.
dude, you want another hot take? Fusion, because in my bracket, Fusion beat Seoul. Sorry, Fusion. Oh, did I just have a spoiler there? Fusion beat Charge, but then what if Fusion beat Seoul as well? Because here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. Basically, what I'm trying to do in my bracket is I'm trying to put Fusion in second place.
Again.
Is what I'm trying to do in my
the
bracket.
Umpteenth time.
So the way they do that is they go lower bracket early, and then they beat both Charge and Seoul Dynasty. They get to the final and get 4-0'd by the Dragons. That's how they get second again.
I mean, anything's possible with Philly. Like, if they rock up into Seoul, they beat up on Charge, right? They beat up on Charge in the upper bracket, or maybe they lose, however it needs to happen, where they have to face Seoul. And MN3 comes out and he goes gangbusters, and this kid just fucking pounds, and Seoul really doesn't have much agency in that, right? Like, there is a world where Philly is successful. They've played this team close before. So I do think it's like within the realm of possibility, but is that something I'm like willing to like bet on? I can't say that I do. I can't say that I'm confident in placing that bet there. I do think it is a possibility. I don't think it's that crazy, to be completely honest with you. I don't think it's crazy that Philly beats Seoul. It's not that wild.
Alrighty. Well, I think we're happy. I'm pretty happy with this bracket either way. So let's go to NA. I'm sure this will take less than 1 hour.
We can speed run.
I heard that somewhere else before. So NA. God.
Here we go. Justice Fuel.
3-0 fuel. 3-0 fuel. Move
3-0
on.
fuel. Yes.
Yep.
It sucks because I like the Justice here. But anyways.
Oh, you don't have to lie on this podcast.
No, I don't. I genuinely do like the Justice.
Okay.
Yeah, London, Toronto in the rematch. Is anything different? I say it's not. I give it a 3-1.
It should be different because
to who?
Playing in their home crowd, but I also think Messi's bullshit, and so is Chobape. Dude, don't ask.
Oh my god,
Pogba.
I don't. Yeah, that goes beyond my reach of European football understanding.
Basically, it's Toronto Defined fans have been making like really bad portmanteaus out of world-class football players and their players, and therefore out of Hisu and Messi, they made Messi. And then out of Hodba and Pogba, they made Pogba. Yeah, it's terrible.
What the fuck is?
I trolled back and said Peter Crouchisu. I'm kind of quite a.
I am.
There it is.
I'm the cat in the overalls and the meme looking over the hill of snow. I'm like, the fuck they doing over there?
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing right now. I'm like, what are Toronto fans doing over there?
Toronto. Shout out.
Is the cold gone to their brains? Are they freezing? Are they a brain freeze? What's going on? Is Toronto that cold?
It is. It is
frontal
creative.
lobes don't work anymore.
It seems like they always have like new ones as well. Like Messi is like their poster child. I feel like from that like circle of fans. But yeah, I mean
they're arguing that Moby Dick threw on purpose. In order to get glads out of here.
They're cooked.
That's based though. You know what? Actually, that's based because I did throw that out there. I did say that Moby Dick was going to throw, but I didn't think he was going to throw the whole game. I said he was going to throw like 1 or 2 maps, not the whole series.
Yeah.
Right.
This goes way beyond what I thought.
They say he is so high IQ he didn't want to get caught. So, like, he threw all the way?
Oh, yeah, you got to lose. That's right. You got to lose the full series to not get caught.
That has a third of your budget. Yeah, because that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, well, you don't get caught if you lose to this team. If you try too hard to get a 3-2, you might get caught. So, yeah, I respect it. I respect
you just
that
need to
movie.
get blown out 3-1. I don't know. Yeah, I see and I hear and I think it's valid about like the hometown
I see you,
buff.
I hear you.
I just don't know that London is just going to be like that much worse. Maybe they are. Maybe the crowd gets to them. Like you said, Sparker did have those comments in your interview that like, there's not a ton of like adversity. They've never really had to overcome a lot. But I also feel like this team's really hungry and they want to prove people wrong. And they like hear a lot of the budget talk and they're like, you know what, we're better than that. And I respect the coaching staff a hell of a lot and the management. Because I'm not trying to get a DM for what they've done with this roster. And I think like this is like one of the capstone victories on LAN, offline, where everything, fucking matters in esports. I feel like Spitfire beat Defiant. For sure.
But I think Defiant with a crowd buff win.
Fair. Yiska, break the tie.
Shit. This is hard. This is really hard. Unfortunately, I think I have to say Toronto for this mere reason that I'm skeptical of Spitfire's spaghetti drop, and it doesn't help that they're playing the home crowd.
Basically, Yiska's like, do I want to copy DM from Nuki or Adam? I think I remember. Actually, Adam doesn't respond to my emails or my DMs anyway, so fuck it. Hashtag request for comment.
No. I'm working with a defined. Hopefully, getting some interviews this week, and
Oh, that's good. That's good. Are you gonna get He Messy? Are you gonna get his comments?
hopefully,
Are you gonna ask him about He Messy? How he feels about it?
am I going to drown myself in the bathtub? No.
It's okay. We went
Got a little
somewhere.
dark.
We went somewhere.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
Titans
you already
Shock.
asked a very dark question to myself and my soul.
Sure. Is this an interesting game? Titans Shock. I feel like this is not close and it's not fun. This is like a sleeper game. No, like 3-0 Shock, easy peasy. We move on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We do.
Yiska, any rebuttals?
Yes, sir.
Nope.
All right, we got Mayhem Outlaws.
Nope.
You know what? Since we're doing 3-0s, should we just keep it going or no?
I feel like Mayhem gets one. I think this is a cleanly game
Okay, so
most
hang
of the way
on.
through.
I have to introduce a rule here. My rule. I'm gonna have a ruling for this specific pred. Majed doesn't play.
Who doesn't play?
Majed doesn't play. I would assume. Okay.
That's my ruling.
Me personally, I respect the ruling and I will pred on the ruling, but I do think that like they're just going to let him play from home. That said, if it is Majed doesn't play, it's probably a 3-0.
We have to speculate one way or the other. We either agree that Majed plays or we agree that he doesn't play.
I'll agree to that he doesn't.
You know, this Yiska, get your German translator. I don't want you misinterpreting the rules this time as well.
Yep, I'm sorry.
The rule is Majed doesn't play.
This is
3-0.
3-0 after we replay at least 2 maps because of boosts.
Cheating.
Yeah.
Because Mayhem tried to cheat.
True.
Fucking cheaters. Never forgive them. Never forget, never forgive. It's my rule.
Nice.
So lower bracket, I think we have Justice Toronto, or no, we have Justice London would be the matchup, correct?
Let's go down and have a look. Are we doing that game or are we doing the Fuel one? Are we doing this one?
Yeah. We'll just go in like verticality order. I
suppose. You guys remember how I said that Justice, despite making the tournament, they're just not going to make a run? This is what I'm talking about. This is where I think they don't make a run. This is where I'm like, they just go out in 2.
Yeah.
You know, just end the pain. They go out in 2. Fuck it.
No matter how you shake up the bracket, the Justice end up first, like playing against like a really difficult opponent. And I mean that's kind of the breaks when it comes to, you know, offline lane events like this. I do think that no matter who gets there, I think that we're gonna see like Justice in like top form, and I think that they're gonna take some games no matter who they play. I think they can take London close, but yeah, I would say London probably still beats them. And Justice go out in 2, sadly.
Yeah. Are we giving some maps? A map?
I would.
Yeah, one pity map.
I think it's a good control or something. Yeah.
Okay, this one is hard.
Is it? I don't know. I feel like Titans just a win.
Really?
Yeah, I'm on that page as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we can say Titans win. I don't think it's that clear. I would say 3-2, probably.
Well, if we're assuming that Majed doesn't play, right? If they can't get him on like decent ping for whatever reason, whatever it is, right? Whatever reason, he can't play, and they have to bring Animo. Like, I feel like that's a big detriment, and I feel like Titans, like, or not a big detriment, but like enough of a detriment in these like very narrow margin games where, yeah, I feel like Titans just probably a little bit more cleanly. I can't imagine that they're scrimming with Animo, or they have like a ton of scrim time built in with Animo. They're probably been scrimming with Majed. That has to like account for some things. Yeah, I feel like this is like cleanly or convincing, rather. I shouldn't say cleanly. Convincing for the Titans. I would say 3-1.
I don't hate it. Whatever.
Okay.
This is where I have enough belief in the Titans that I buy this.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm like discounting Mayhem a lot, but
I mean, like one of their players is going to be there.
I just don't trust in all the off meta shit they're doing. You know, all this like extra flowery stuff they got going on. I understand why they're doing it because you know the Gumba interview was really really good and it gave us a lot of insight. So you know, props for Gumba to come out and say what he said because I respect that and I want coaches to do that.
Yep.
I just think like, when you're at the level of like your team is just you don't have confidence in playing the meta and you feel like you have to off meta, you're already on like the back foot. You're already coming in, flat-footed, and it's just like,
Yeah.
how far are you gonna get with that? Especially versus teams that can actually play the meta. The meta is the meta for a reason. You have to also understand when you're playing off meta in this sort of this stage. I was about to use the word meta again. When you're playing off meta in this meta, it's not like you're playing a counter comp, because at least in previous metas, if you play off meta, you're playing some sort of like legitimate counter, which forces a legitimate response from your opponent. And no, I don't consider Fire to be a legitimate counter in this comp, because she is too easily countered, and also you don't even have to change. Like even the Genji can beat the Fire if the Genji is skilled enough. Yeah, I don't see off meta even being a factor here to help Mayhem that much. Maybe they squeeze in some maps. Maybe they could even upset Titans and move on. But let's say that Mayhem do beat the Titans, they lose the next round. Like I think Mayhem's run here is so limited.
Yeah. Even like I'll give you one further. Like the fact that if we're again assuming that Majed doesn't play, they can't do the off meta stuff. They can't do the double flex support stuff because Animo has to be playing. Right? So like even their trump card, even their ace in the hole, the thing that like is gonna like throw all these teams off kilter, isn't gonna be there. Right? And again, that's only assuming that Majed can't play from home or will not be able to be fielded. If that's the case, I think I'm talking like the way that you described this matchup has like convinced me that if Majed does not play, Mayhem does not have a leg to stand up.
And I'm gonna be that guy that also says whether or not Majed plays, I still think they lose. I'm that guy right now. So
it's either close or like it's not even remotely interesting.
All
so
right.
we'll have to wait and see.
Next.
So I think we go back up. Toronto Fuel, I believe, is our winners round 2 matchup. I feel like this is just Fuel all day, right? 3-1 maybe.
Are you ready for the tech? No, I'm kidding. God, not even the crowd buff can help Toronto enough. Yeah, I think Fuel's just too good.
Yeah.
I think Fuel's just too good.
Yeah, no, he's.
We like 3-1, or we want to go a little spicy and go 3-0.
3-1.
Or even spicier. Go 3-2.
True.
It's even spicier. But no, probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
3-1. Let's go next.
3-1. Fuel advanced. Shock Houston.
Easy.
Easy shock 3-1, I feel like.
Yeah.
No? I think Houston
Houston have something to do. I think Houston have something to say about this game. I don't think Houston win.
Okay.
But I think they got something to say here.
You think they get 2 though? I feel like that's like the big thing. Is I think this is like a
relatively
close game for Shock, but
Proper is still better than Pelican. Is that what they say?
Yeah. Yes.
Sure,
yes,
but
yes.
look
but
at merit.
But they also say like, yeah, but maybe Pelican can still do something.
Pelican's no slouch. This kid's basically tried to force the Genji since the first stage. And I don't think Dante is like a slouch at Junker Queen. Like this team, I think is coming along, but they're not enough to beat the Shock for sure. Like I think it's closer. I just don't know that if they can get 2. I think they can get 1, but 2 feels a little out of reach. I think it's a.
All right, 1 then. 1 then.
Yeah.
All right. Spitfire Outlaws.
Then let's. Spitfire Outlaws is Elim round 2, correct? I believe that.
I'm. First, do you think Spitfire can win this? Because I think, first of all, Spitfire would have to be on a mad run to get here, to beat Houston here. But I quite like Houston here.
I do as well.
Is that wild?
No, I don't think it's crazy. I think they're playing the things that I think we expected them to. I think there was a little bit of a experimentation with the Ashe early on. I think that's gone by the wayside for the most part. I think like we kind of said previously, there are some maps that it makes sense. I think the one thing that kind of sticks out for me is like that week 1 victory where like London kind of sweeps them up. I don't think this is the same Houston. I think this is close. I think it's possible for London to win, but I've got to give it to Houston. I think it's a 3-2 Houston victory. I think it's a close game.
I don't hate that. I actually think that's kind of based. Yeah, legitimately, I think 3-2 might be based. Yeah, what do you think, Yiska?
Yep, I don't hate it. Okay, home ground advantage.
Next game. Yeah, that's the one you got to give it to him.
Oh, yeah. Look, this is the Battle of Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing where I think like Titans will get one over Mayhem is because they have like the home crowd when Toronto's not playing, but when Toronto is playing,
Sure.
Yes, exactly.
that crowd will suddenly turn against Vancouver pretty hard.
And it's not even just pretty hard. It's like the most hard because like that's just like their inner regional like rival.
When DP walks up on stage, he's not even going to have a jersey on. So that's RIP Titans to me. That's instant RIP Titans.
Yep.
You saw that, right? You saw in the interview, not the interview, the what is it? The draw show?
Yeah.
The selection show. DP comes on camera, no jersey. I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate. Dude.
That's
it's been
a statement.
Months now. That's been months now. Still has no jersey. That's a bit sad. Unlucky, David.
Probably got 5 now.
I feel
he's
for you,
just
dude.
wearing them just cause.
Dude, I got an Atlanta jersey within 1 week. This guy can't even get a jersey. He works for the team. He can't even get a jersey in like a couple months. It's crazy.
Based. Yeah.
Oh god, I got a hat and a jersey from Atlanta, like boom, like instantly. And I live across, I live across the world from Atlanta as well, and I got a jersey and a hat so fast.
Do we say 3-0 or do we give Titans a game at all?
I give them a
lap. I feel like it's.
I think Defiant are just a better team. No.
Oh, I would
just like the hard superior team there. Yeah.
I think they're the superior team. I think they have the home crowd advantage, and it's like severely in their favor because again, like this is the interregional rival of the home crowd. Like that's gonna do something to you either way, and it throws you off kilter. So we're going brass tacks. Who's the better team? It's the Defiant. I say it's a 3-0. Just off of like the mineral of each team.
I back that. Yiska?
Yep. No issues.
Oh, Yiska back it? Yiska backs it?
Yeah. I'm backing. I'm backing this.
Currently backing?
I'm backing Fuel for the next.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I feel like both regions are kind of be a little sleeper in the winner side. I feel like this is just another Fuel, like kind of. We've seen it. It's been recent. We know what these two teams look like. I think Shock's probably good for one, but it's like 80-20 Fuel. Like my confidence for Fuel in this tournament is like Shanghai I feel like it's a Shanghai, Dallas like 2-horse race, and they're just separated.
Yeah,
right
but
now,
like,
so
am I crazy? But am I crazy?
I don't know. That's something you have to ask yourself.
Because if I'm crazy,
yeah,
then maybe it's not guaranteed for Fuel.
I mean, it's not guaranteed.
And maybe I am crazy. I might just be crazy.
Is the proper buff that strong?
I think it's the strongest buff you can get.
It is the strongest buff you can get.
I think of all available buffs, you look at the buff list, you're like, you know what? I think the proper buff is the strongest buff.
True. Very true.
It's like if you had gun to head, it's like, would I rather have a crowd buff or a proper buff? I'm like, I take the proper buff every day of the week.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong there, my friend.
Yep.
Actual MVP buff.
So just imagine having the best player in the world on your team. That hits a little different.
It does hit.
But
is it enough?
I don't know, man. I'm like,
it's hard.
Commit. So that's
did you both select Dallas? Even if I select Shock, you guys both have Dallas, right? So fuck it.
Yeah, I have a clear Dallas.
Yeah,
I have 3.
I think it will be close.
Dallas it is.
I think it's a 60-40 for Dallas. Like it's not as high, but like
I think they eventually play close, but I don't think it's this game.
Reinforce said that Dallas 3-1 because Dallas will win the push map and end it there. Ooh. And it would require Shock to be up 2-1 for this to be 3-2.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he's
I don't-
convinced map 4 goes Dallas.
Yeah, I don't think Dallas drops controls. I think at least over the season,
Dallas would have to drop hybrid escort.
I don't see that. Really.
You don't
Like,
see them
it's-
dropping hybrid escort.
I just think they're clean.
It has to be
I just
3-1
think
then.
They're cleanly. Yeah,
It has to be 3-1
think-
then.
I think that's fair. I'll say a 3-1. That's fair.
Let's go.
Is it Elim round 3? Is that where we're
That's
at?
Outlaws against Defiant. Next. Ooh, that's a game.
That's a game.
So do
That
you
one's
believe
close.
in home crowd buff or do you believe in Pelican buff? Do you believe that Pelly can or Pelly can't?
I think it goes 5 either way. I'm going to say this is Houston. This is their moment to kind of solidify themselves as the third best team at home. You slay Defiant. You send them home. Yeah, I like what I see out of Houston. I like the way that they've adapted since week 1. Yes, I did claim that Justice were going to beat them. And I think they leapt that hurdle well enough, and I respect Justice. So I think that was actually a pretty sizable marker for me. So yeah, I'm gonna say Houston.
I'm gonna say he messes this up, and Pelican's just going to get in that ass. Yeah, maybe even the 3-1.
Wow.
Ooh,
Something sexual going on there. Wow, no one backing Defiant.
I think it's close. I think it's a good game. Something to watch out for. Something like definitely a game to.
I'm
to tune into.
currently simping for Defiant a little bit. I don't know, like
Shit. Okay.
are we
I mean,
convinced that Houston is going to mentally recover from everything that's happened plus the crowd?
Am I convinced? No, but that's one of those things that I feel like it's just too ethereal for me to quantify. You know what I mean? In some instances, I feel like it maybe can turn the tide, but I do believe that Houston is like the third best team. I think there are some discussions to be had, but I think the way that this tournament plays out, if I think that like this bracket files out the way that it does, I do believe that, you know, they're playing the, I guess not necessarily the more difficult opponents, but like the way that I see it, I think they carve out like a niche for themselves as third. And I think this is it. This is the test.
All right. Then
Then we go. Yeah.
Yeah, pick a winner.
We'll do Houston. We'll do Houston.
Yeah.
But 3-2. I'm happy with 3-2.
so then it's, I mean, here it almost didn't matter what we do before because I just go shock. Ease peas.
Yeah.
Lemon squeeze.
Just go shock.
Yep. Shock, and it's not close particularly. And then we get to the final. And this is where I think it gets close. This is where I think that with like the best of 7, I think that maybe Shock has a little bit more room to breathe. I think, you know, if you want to kind of pick and choose like a game type or a map type, you can find a way to give them a couple games. I have it going 4-2 Dallas's way, but eventually it's just gonna return to Dallas, right? All roads lead to
Or are we
Rome.
doing lower?
Lower is just Shock, right?
3-0. Do you think Houston do anything or no?
It's Shock. I don't particularly care how it shakes out. It's just gonna be Shock eventually.
Yeah, this is one of those. Wait, did we already have a shock Houston matchup in the bracket somewhere?
I feel like
Is this the second matchup? Yeah, they already played, didn't they?
Yeah.
And what score do we give back then?
I feel like it was a 3-1. No?
Do we do 3-1?
Believe.
Yeah.
So
Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are we? Do we 3-1 again or?
yeah, just 3-1. Move on.
Or do we believe that Shock are just going sicko mode now and they won't even drop a map?
No.
Maybe they make it more cleanly, but That's where I'm at. Like, is it a 3-1 or is it a 3-0?
Whatever.
I don't know. I'm not mad at it either way.
Yeah.
I don't think it goes 5. I don't think Houston are really going to have too many legs to stand on. Again, I don't think there's much you can adapt to, and that's what sucks about this meta right now is that rematches kind of feel decided, especially like recent ones. So when you look at like a Shock Philly, or you look like maybe that's a bad game just because it went so close, and you know maybe there's some edge cases there. But we've seen this game already in the bracket. It's as recent as you're going to get. I don't know that there's too much to adjust to. Like, it feels pretty comfortable for Shock here.
Finals time.
Yeah. Fuel Shock.
So Shock win, yeah. Shock, this is their time. This is their moment. This is what they've been waiting for. They came second versus Glads, and now surely they don't come second twice in a row. So, you know, they win, right? They win?
No.
I thought they were going to spin the block on the fuel. What was that entire, like, I think it's going to be different in the second time they meet rhetoric?
No, I think it's closer.
Oh.
I think the way that because it's a best of 7, I think like Shock has like more opportunity to find game types they're gonna like excel at, I suppose. I don't think they're particularly good at push. I don't think Dallas like rather loses at control. I do believe that they're like just cleanly in like the most general sense of like this metagame at the moment. So like AVRL, and you know, I agreed that like it comes down to hybrid, or I believe it was escort. Maybe they can squeak out something there. Maybe they like can edge out 2 hybrid maps. It's hard to say. I think that if you are going to get a close game, I think it's this one though. I think it's the final.
Can we go 7 here? Am I feeling a 7 map banger?
I mean, it's a possibility. I mean,
I'm feeling
again,
7. I'm feeling 7. I feel like this one goes 7.
I'm not mad at 7. I'll trust the gut instinct, but I feel like Fuel takes this. I really do.
Damn, am I really the only one that backs Shock?
Yiska?
Yeah. No, I'm going
What do you
Dallas.
say?
Bruh. All right.
Why do you hate Hanbin all of a sudden?
I'm going to enjoy all the points I get from Shock winning then.
Sure.
It's double.
Stop
Double
putting
point.
words in my mouth. Right? Be a weird guy. Hanbin's my MVP. Look, either a Shock win or Hanbin's my MVP. So either way, I win. Okay?
True.
I've hedged my bets and I win no matter what.
But
Yeah.
isn't Proper also your MVP?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, that's
Proper's
Rookie of the Year, Dum Dum. Haven't you been listening?
Dumbass. That's Rookie of the Year,
Oh,
dummy.
right.
And AVRL's been
Dummy.
pretty convincing. You know, he's been pretty like consistent in his argument that, you know, you can't give the award to 2 people. You can't give Rookie and MVP. Correct me if I'm wrong, AVRL.
Although if you were, I wouldn't mind it being Proper getting it.
I feel like he's the only
But
person that we've
unless
ever
it's
seen that
Proper,
good.
then no one else can get it.
Yes, nobody else ever.
I'm gonna bend the rules only for Proper and no one else.
I think you should
I
actually
agree.
give MVP to Proper and not Rookie. Just to piss
I think you give
Max
MVP to
Leo off.
Supreme.
I think you should give Coach of the Year to Proper because I'm convinced that he's also coaching the team.
Yeah. Do you think
Also,
That's a take.
I think you should give support, tank, and DPS role star to Proper because I'm convinced that if he wanted to play tank and support, he'd also be the best player.
True.
I feel like the trifecta award goes to Prophet, no?
But I'm convinced if Proper wanted to, he could get it.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I'm
sure,
saying you should give
I
him.
agree
I'm
with
saying
that.
you should give him the award, even though he hasn't done it, just because like you assume he would. Like just off assumption alone, he should get it.
Fair.
And by the way, this one's a little contentious, but hear me out. I also think Proper should get the Dennis Hawalker award because I like his smile when he gets a 5K, and he gets a 5K a lot, so he smiles a lot.
Here's another great example of 3M pattern recognition. If you're Korean and your name starts with PRO, you're fucking.
You're fucking dude.
Who's the third one?
It just needs to.
There's not. there's not one at the moment, but you know, from this point onwards, you look at Contenders Korea, suddenly there's just like an influx of all these players whose names start with PRO.
Yeah.
Like,
Professor.
P is already also very good. There's also Pelican.
True.
Perfect
Pro
is
Pelican.
coming.
You just gotta get Pro Pelican, you know.
It's another
So
Korean
you guys
player
want
with
fuel.
P.
So it's gonna be 4-3 fuel, right? 4-3 fuel.
Yeah,
Lock it in?
Yeah.
I think I would agree. I would love to see a 7 gamer, so I'll agree there. But I
7 gamer. We 7 gaming people. Yeah,
it'd be
go
nice.
on.
I'd like to have a close final. I was hyped for the last one. I was like, oh shit, here come the
The
shock.
last one should have been 7.
Yeah.
When is
Definitely
that
could've been.
final? Is that on Sunday or when is that?
I mean, usually it is.
It's
Sunday,
always
huh?
on Sunday.
Yeah, Championship Sunday, dum dum.
Yeah,
Haven't you ever
dummy.
been to an MLG, dum dum?
Yeah, dummy. Yeah, it is Sunday.
Shout outs, Apocella and the gang. Shout outs, Puckett, MLG alum.
Yeah.
True.
Is that it?
I think that's
I
it.
think we're done.
Did any drama
Big
come
Junker
out
Queens.
in the 3 hours we've been talking? No, no
I
drama?
certainly hope not. I'm done with drama.
Yeah, I know.
So
They should respect my sleeping schedule. Based.
uh
I think we're good.
Countdown Cup's gonna be interesting. I'll have to get there. Get to October, boys. We just gotta get to October.
And the
Telling
game
you.
comes out.
There's no shot that they did that.
Did what?
Apparently, they just leaked the new Watchpoint pack updated description and
You see what I said? Was there any drama that happened in the last 3
and the
hours?
new champion's name
Here we go.
Kiriko is confirmed.
That's so
Here we go. Drama. All right. There's been drama. There has been drama.
Legendary Hinotori Kiriko. Nice. Based.
I mean
People are asking if it's a paywalled hero.
no. This is it says a skin, you dummies.
I don't think Blizzard would paywall heroes in Overwatch.
No, you can't. You literally can't. I mean, I guess you can, but like that is the like most doomer assumption, like cynical, holy shit, Blizzard actually doesn't know what game they're playing. Like, no, they can't. They physically cannot.
But it
It is
sounds
Just
a
like
weird
that,
line,
yeah.
though. It is a weird line to put in. As a Season 1 Premium Battle Pass owner, you will automatically receive access to Overwatch latest hero Kiriko. That's a weird line to put in.
Is it like a week early type of feel where like she releases later and you just get her early?
That doesn't feel good either. I don't know, man. This is just.
I don't like
scared.
that either, but
I'm
it is
scared.
an odd sentence. That's fair.
I will say one thing. I will say one thing. This is me simping pretty hard, but like consider this: other games that are free to play do not have an issue with paywalling their heroes or paywalling their characters. So even if Blizzard
Yes.
paywalled, look, I wouldn't be happy about it, but at the same time, I wouldn't be throwing a fit because I'm like, bro, Valorant, League of Legends, Apex, they all do the same shit. Like, come on, guys, be mature. But I do understand because I don't think Overwatch should paywall the heroes. Personally, from my opinion, I don't think it should. But
No, because
I don't know.
I feel like the game is balanced around the idea that you don't. And I don't think they've done enough to prove to me that Overwatch 2 has shifted in like their mindset on that.
I think Blizzard need to do a lot to curry favor that they are doing a healthy, good version of a free-to-play system.
Yes.
And to me, that would mean that you don't paywall heroes.
Correct.
Because I think Blizzard have gotten enough shit from everywhere in the past several years about their business tactics.
Yeah.
I mean, for fuck's sake, they literally just released a pay to win game in Diablo
Yeah.
Immortal, so it's like they need to do a lot of work to regain community trust. So paywalling heroes is probably a bad idea.
I think the operative word in this sentence is automatically. That leads me to believe that this is like a delayed release and you get it early.
Even a delay release just feels bad.
I don't
man.
like it either, but like
feels bad.
That's the middle ground.
No.
I'll take it as a middle ground. I will take it as a middle ground, but
I don't like it either.
I'm not a fan.
for me personally, I've already bought the watch paint pack, and to you guys, I say stay poor, L. I got it. I get it before you. Well, no, I think like honestly, this is probably the
dude,
first.
I already know what's going to happen.
This is
All
the first
gaming
evidence.
journalists out there, all the gaming journalists out there. This is a tough conversation to have because I feel like I'm throwing journalism under the bus again. But you guys are right here. But all the gaming journalists are about to get on top of this. Oh, don't
heavy.
Dude.
Yeah. No.
Dude, Kotaku's going to be here. Kotaku, Polygon, they're going to be on this shit instantly. They're going to be like, Blizzard are now doing pay to win tactics. Blizzard are paywalling their heroes, and the heroes are good. That means it's pay to win. You know what? Those same fucking writers will never say that about Apex, League of Legends, or Valorant, even though technically speaking, if they release broken champions, which they do, that shit could be considered pay to win, but they'll never say it. So fuck journalism. That's what I gotta say.
Again, I want to lean in on this. I think the operative word is automatically. That means that it's a delay at some point.
Yeah. So
I don't think that like a week is too bad. I don't like it, but it's a middle ground.
I think the most likely scenario here is that it's like if you look at Call of Duty Battle Passes, they have weapon unlocks at like level 15 or something. And those weapons are usually like very good. I think it's a Battle Pass unlock. And because you're, as an owner, you automatically have level 80.
Okay, I get you.
So you will have to play some, but it's probably going to be a mild amount of play before you can...
Yeah, reasonable.
Yeah.
You just unlock her, move on. Like, it's not a pay to win. It's a pay to skip maybe an hour or two, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and also,
I don't like it, but...
but you know how it is.
Whatever.
You know how it is. Gaming journalists like to spin things. They like to twist the narrative.
Yeah.
And,
Dude,
Blizzard bad is kind of the narrative is Blizzard bad, right? So they got to twist it to make Blizzard look bad.
I'll also straight up tell you, like, if you haven't paid, put enough time in order to get and it depends how far along it is on the Battle Pass. Let's say 2 hours in order to get to the level where Kiriko is at. If you haven't put 2 hours of Kiriko playtime into the patch where that Battle Pass opens up at, then I don't want you in my ranked game playing Kiriko. Straight up. Like,
yeah.
I
mean, I feel like, is that not something that like League does pretty well, where like ranked they disable the new champs like for the first like week or two?
We do.
I feel like that's
well.
like I
always you just don't remember because we didn't have new heroes in 3 years.
True. I mean, honestly, yeah, and I don't really play Overwatch all that much. I should just watch it. So.
Yeah, no.
I mean, hopefully that continues. I'd like to have that continue, please. For that reason, for your reason that you kind of outlined.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, as long as it's like not egregiously deep into the Battle Pass, I don't have any issue with it. Incentivizes also, play.
Why is there a thread about Toronto being incentivized to play poorly against London, aka throwing? But they don't even credit me for the theory. Fuck that. I hate this shit. I come up with all the theories, and then like people don't even credit me. That's really annoying. Come on, you should at least put source AVRL.
True.
Said that Toronto might have thrown the game. Whatever.
Based in AVRL.
Never get my flowers. This is why I don't give Dallas or Fusion their flowers, because people don't give me my flowers. Fuck them. Don't fucking credit me.
Fair.
Steal my journalism and don't credit me. That's why I hate journalism.
Yep. Don't do
Alrighty.
it.
That wraps it up. I got no further thoughts. Head empty, brain frozen, no further thoughts. Drama covered. Yeah. 260. Thank you very much. See you next time. Goodbye.
Peace.